If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description. Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. You are listening to the Columbine Conspiracy Case Series. This is episode 10, over 100 accounts. That's right, we're going over 100 accounts that do not match the official narrative. Were there additional shooters? Were there simply other Trenchcoat Mafia members who were present for at least part of this traumatic shooting, which has, of course, become the de facto high school? Whenever you talk school shootings, Columbine is, of course, the first that comes to mind for many, many people, especially those that were around in 1999 and watched this unfold on the news. So we will be continuing our dissection of all of these witness statements and all of the evidence that points against two lone individuals carrying this out. Was there help or foreknowledge? There seems to have been, just from all available accounts. Now, to what extent is what is being debated here, with logic and reason at the forefront in typical Mindshock fashion, not falling for any logical fallacies or blind faith in the idiot box and whatever is presented on the idiot box as truth without supporting evidence. If you want to support Mindshock, support the podcast, help us get more mind-shocking content out there, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube for exclusive access to streams and chats only available to members. You can help support the channel that way. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcast, or requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. And I will add another Dunning-Kruger disclaimer here. If your English is not even at a first or second grade level, I mean, what are you really doing in the comment section? I mean, there are a lot of goofs out there that just really love to throw in their 2 cents without even understanding what's being alleged. Understand what's being alleged first, And again, I am not actually claiming anything is definitively true or untrue. Of course, the Mindshock motto is, the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. And I'm also not even sure about that. So let's recap from the top of the 100 that I was going over earlier. So Chris Wisher, of course, 1261. Saw two guys with shotguns wearing black trench coats. Third guy wearing a white t-shirt and jeans was seen throwing bomb on the roof simultaneously to seeing the two guys with the trench coats. Jake Apodaca, sophomore, 653, at the soccer field. Saw two guys carrying shotguns wearing black trenches, black t-shirts. Third guy wearing white t-shirt and jeans throwing bombs onto the roof. Jonathan Cole, freshman, 749. Two tall guys in black trench coats. Third male wearing white t-shirt and blue jeans. This person looked over to the other two suspects and yelled, "Go, go." 4, William Arap-Gillies, freshman, 660, was on the soccer field, heard firecrackers, saw 3 people near the west entrance. 2 were wearing black trench coats and carrying guns. Third was wearing a white t-shirt, no visible gun. The person in the white t-shirt was pacing back and forth 5 feet away from the 2 gunmen. Channel 7 News reported at 12 noon. Reporter said numerous witnesses he spoke to were not named, said they saw 3 gunmen. Lindsay Elmore Jr., 332. I believe there were 3 gunmen. On 340, there was so much movement that Elmore thought there was more than 2 people. Trying to explain that away. ACSO Nelson, 8810, a list of 3 names that the 12 witnesses ID'd from a yearbook were turned over to ACSO investigators to forward. 8, Jason Baer, sophomore, 1759, hid in the green room of Science Hall. I heard more than 2 people yelling to each other saying, "Over here" and stuff. 9, Anthony Samaro, freshman, 5071. Tony stated that 2 suspects came in through the front door and 1 came in from the side door. 10, Eric Sunday, freshman, 4576, saw 2 gunmen downstairs near the cafeteria. Runs upstairs, sees another person in the trench coat in front of the library doors. And what's 2 plus 1, people? Even the coincidence theorists should be able to do this math. 11, John Curtis, staff member, 2286, describes 3 attackers. Let's take a look at that. The other point, which we'll get into regarding the duffel bags, whether or not the duffel bags with the bombs were there before 11:20. Coincidentally, of course, there's a cutout in the cafeteria footage for there's 8 minutes of missing footage in a very coincidental time, and we'll be getting into that as well. Curtis is actually 2785. And also, we have to keep in mind just the psychology of regular people. Regardless of what they saw, if they keep hearing on the media or from officers that there were only 2 guys, would that make them question their own recollection, especially during this stressful situation? So if they weren't pressured and saw no media, would their accounts be completely different? This report dated April 24th, 99, investigation. On April 20th, while assisting with interviews on the scene of a multiple homicide, Columbine High School, I interviewed one of the building maintenance employees who was named John Curtis. Curtis told me he first became aware something was happening in the school when he heard gunshots. Curtis told me that he saw a male with a high-powered rifle slung across his shoulder at the top of the steps by the south entrance of the cafeteria. Curtis told me that he and a number of students fled into the kitchen area and hid. While inside of the room where they were hiding, Curtis told me he heard a sound of a second firearm that sounded like a .22 caliber. Curtis also told me he heard one of the shooters blow up the stove in the kitchen with the high-powered rifle. I asked Curtis to give me a better description of the male he saw. He described him as about 5'10", medium build, dark brown collar-length hair, and said the male was wearing a black duster. Curtis also told me he thought he could see something yellow inside of the duster when it swung open at one point. Curtis told me that he was evacuated from the building along with fellow custodian Jay Galatine. I spoke with Galatine, and he told me he did not see the gunman, nor did he witness anyone being shot or injured. And how many potential witnesses, simply said they didn't see anything because they didn't want to deal with it? Not for nefarious purposes, simply they were obviously the trauma. I mean, it's just they figured there's plenty of other witnesses, so they didn't say what they saw. They claimed they saw nothing. Did those individuals actually see something as well? Another report here, date of this report, April 29th, regarding April 28th. At 2:20, I contacted John Curtis by telephone. Okay. During my conversation with Curtis, he informed me he's a janitorial worker for the high school and he supervises lunch period. He stated he observed suspects shooting and stated that he wasn't sure if he saw 2 or 4 people shooting. I asked him if he ever saw 4 together, and he stated no. He stated that during the incident, he observed victim Sean Graves, who was a wounded victim, laying halfway in the cafeteria, halfway on the outside door. This door is located on the northwest corner of the cafeteria. Curtis informed me that he stayed with Graves and saw a male suspect walking up the northwest stairs from the cafeteria on the exterior of the building. He described this person as wearing a black trench coat, blue jeans, and tennis shoes. He stated that he's approximately 5'8", but could not give a facial description. He informed me that this person had light blondish brown hair and didn't appear to have any facial hair. I asked him how far away this person was. He said about 20 feet. He stated that the person in the black trench coat was carrying a handgun and it might have been in his right hand. Curtis stated that he left Graves and ran through the cafeteria, the main level near the library. He stated at this time he noticed another person with dark hair, approximately 5'10", wearing a black trench. So one suspect 5'8", one 5'10". Does this sound like Dylan Klebold to anybody? He stated this person was approximately 50 to 100 feet away and he was loading a shotgun. I asked him where this person was standing with the shotgun. He informed me he was standing near the double doors that exit to the west of the building, just north of the library. He stated that he also saw something yellow around this person's waist and that this person's hair was messed up. He stated that this person then chased them down the stairs toward the cafeteria. He stated that Jay Galantine, who was also a janitor, was with him, and they ran into the kitchen area and hid under a stove. So Jay was running from someone he didn't see? He stated that this person in the trench coat began shooting at them toward the kitchen area, but did not come downstairs to the cafeteria or kitchen, and that he stayed in the hallway. He stated that a pipe bomb was thrown at them and it hit a stove and blew up beside them. He informed me that after he thought the person had left, he went back out to be with Graves, and he heard shots very close to Graves, and that was when he and Galantine went into the freezer to hide. I asked him approximately how long he was in the freezer before somebody contacted him to leave the building, and he stated they were in there approximately 30 to 35 minutes. I asked him if he heard any of the suspects say anything. He stated no. I asked him if he could identify the suspect that was near the double doors with a shotgun. He stated he could not. I asked him why he believed there might have been more than 2 suspects involved, and he stated that because he heard a lot of discharging of weapons and pipe bombs. I asked him if he ever saw the suspects together, whether it was 2 or more. He stated he never saw any of the suspects together during the incident. So he just saw individuals of various heights who did not look like each other. Curious. The other thing is, with all these people running around and everybody shooting, is it possible for 2 shooters to make it seem like they were 4? I mean, if they were constantly running from one side to the other, and the official narrative places them together, he's saying he never saw even more than 1 shooter together. There were always single shooters in different areas. How fast would they have to be running in order to emulate 4 shooters if there's only 2 of them? Not that it's impossible, but according to the official narrative, that's not what they were doing. The other thing he said is the second subject that he saw on the west side towards the step towards the common, Curtis related he was in no big hurry to go anyplace. At one point, he was walking back toward the building, so he's walking very slowly? So then they're not running around, so what is the likelihood they're emulating 4 people? At one point, Curtis related that Jay saw some of the shooters through the mirrors. So that's curious. So he saw Jay see the shooters, and Jay's maintaining he didn't see anybody or anything. Curious. Curious indeed. Richard, let's move on. 12th sighting of something unusual. Richard Olajnizak, father of students Alicia and Sarah, 50-70. Richard then asked this investigator what information had been obtained referencing any other participants. Richard stated that while he was at Leawood Elementary waiting for information about his 2 daughters, he talked with 2 girls who came back from the school. The girls said they had seen 2 guys in the cafeteria wearing all black. There were also 2 guys who entered the main door from the parking lot. One was in black, one was in white. They said they all had guns. And if there were 2 guys on each side, would that account for all the madness and the mayhem? So if there were 4 shooters. 13, Adam Campbell Sr., document 732, walked out of school at 11:20 a.m. immediately before the shooting on April 20th, saw Harris in the parking lot with 2 or 3 other guys. wearing a white t-shirt and backward baseball cap. 2 or 3 other guys. So this is seconds before the shooting. This is document 732. So a couple of curiosities about his report. He said he left the school at approximately 11:20 a.m. So, of course, some people believe the shooting started between 11:14 and 11:17. Other people give closer to 11:20. I don't know if there's anybody stating much later than 11:20. Campbell stated he was walking out of the school and through the parking lot he saw nothing unusual going on, just other kids walking around. Campbell stated he saw Eric Harris when he was leaving for lunch. He stated Harris was located in the parking lot and he thought there were 2 or 3 other guys with him. So definitely not one other guy, 2 or 3 other guys. He stated Harris was wearing a white t-shirt and had on a backward baseball cap. Also, if he's not wearing a trench coat at this time, did he put it on or was it already off? And again, depending on how many other guys there are, that could be hard to tell. He stated he did not remember anything else Harris was wearing because at the time he did not think anything of it. Campbell stated as he returned to school at approximately 11:55, he saw a bunch of students in Leawood Park. He stated a female student banged on his window and told him there was a shooting at the school and not to go there. Campbell stated he had talked to Columbine High School student Jessica Cave since the shooting, and she stated she saw 10 shooters at the school. Campbell stated he had seen some of the Trenchcoat Mafia students in the school prior to the shooting, however, he did not associate with them. He had no knowledge of the shooting or he would have notified the authorities. Let's look at what Jessica Cave said in her statement. There's only a handwritten report here from an officer. August 10th, 99. At the residence. Investigation. I telephoned interviews. This officer has terrible handwriting. Jessica Cave requested to be interviewed. The mother of Columbine High School student Jessica Cave requested to be interviewed as opposed to her daughter. She told me that her family has been significantly affected by the shooting and would like to reduce amount of contact. She told me her son, David Cave, was recently admitted to a hospital for psychological reason. She reported that her son knew Eric Harris. He was his boss at Tortilla Wraps. She told me that the Columbine High School student triggered her son's psychological condition. She told me that Jessica has not been interviewed by police prior to this date. Provided the following account of Jessica Cave's on the day of April 20th. Jessica was in the Miss Williams science class when the shooting began. An unidentified student ran into the class and alerted the teacher that someone had a gun and was shooting in the school. Students went into the science room and hid. The students then went into the greenhouse room. This is where they hid until SWAT rescued them. Jessica could see outside because the room had windows, but she did not see any shooting. Jessica could also hear the gunshots and bombs. She and other students hid in the greenhouse room for about 3 to 4 hours. She reported that at 3:15, she received a call from a SWAT member and told her Jessica was safe. Jessica was then transported to the library by teacher Kiki. This is where she was reunited with her daughter. Harmon told me that Jessica did not know Harris or Klebold. She just knew who they were after seeing their photos after the shooting. So Jessica Cave's mother did not allow her to be interviewed. Curious. And is this when after the narrative was established and certain parents just wanted to protect their students from any involvement with this cover-up, if there's a cover-up at play? Very, very curious. So, moving on. 14, Matt Katzenmeyer, sophomore, 5745, saw 4 subjects carrying bags in, according to Darlene Mesh. So, Mesh was in the financial aid office, standing by a safe, counting money with the blinds to the office drawn when she heard approximately 5 pops. She shut the safe, spun the combination dial, ran into the adjacent business office. She continued past the principal's office to the art department where she looked out a window, which faces east toward the faculty parking lot. She did not see anyone in the lot, which did not seem right to her. She then ran to the band room, out the hallway, out the north doors, which led to the area of the tennis courts. So there's no time period here. Mesh saw a lot of students standing by the fence line near the tennis court. She heard a man's voice shouting that someone was shooting outside of the building and that the students began jumping the fence and running north into Clement Park. Mesh stated that she remained in the area of the park and was later picked up there by her husband approximately 1.5 hours later. Mesh advised she never saw the gunman or anything else unusual during the time period described. She stated that she had some contact with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold in the finance office in the past, but never had problems with either student. Mesh stated that she had heard that someone had seen 4 subjects carrying bags on their backs on the day of the shooting. Mesh heard this from her supervisor, Mona Madden, who stated that the party who supposedly made this observation was student Matt Katzenmeyer. So let's look at Katzenmeyer's account, document 3424. May 3rd, Reeker did an interview with Matt Katzenmeyer at his residence. Matt did relate that he was in the cafeteria at the vending machines near the west entrance when he heard 2 shots and yelling in the parking lot, and that Sean Graves had been shot as well as another person. Matt observed 1 suspect by the west entrance of the library. This suspect was described as 6'3", with long brown hair, white male, black ski mask, and black pants with an unknown weapon. Matt then saw another male, 5'9", white male with black trench coat and a black baseball hat turned backwards, and that this person threw a pipe bomb towards the doors. Matt also observed he saw an older light green car, possibly a Buick, driving around the senior parking lot, and that it contained 1 person whom he did not know, but that the car peeled out of the parking lot when the shooting started. So there was somebody already in a car, already driving, and as soon as the shooting started, they peeled out. Is there a witness who matches that description? Matt states that he then went back into the school via the west cafeteria door and went to the auditorium, where he heard shots and then ran to the entrance by the weight rooms and then out the building to the softball field, and that a Zach Pierce came out the door yelling to run, that they are shooting at us. Matt states that he did not see the gunman come in the west door of the cafeteria. Matt related that he heard shots or explosions in the school at the same time that the 2 suspects were outside the school. Nick Goodridge stated to Matt that a person was running down the language arts hallway trying to break windows out with a pistol handle. And an unknown person stated to Matt that a person was in the main hallway at that time with a shotgun, and that Matt did not feel it was the original 2 suspects. Interesting. So there's 2 suspects outside of the school, and that there's shots, explosions in the school while the suspects are outside the school, and someone else is telling them there's also somebody running around knocking out windows with a pistol handle. Curious. Matt stated Adam Beard is a friend of the Harris and Klebold, and that he feels Beard knows more about the shooting. He also stated that a Michael Bogassi, Adam Beard, and an Oriental student known as Quintero all left school just prior to the shooting, and Matt felt this was strange. At this time, the interview was terminated. September 4th, investigator Reeker did conduct a second interview with Katzenmeyer at his residence with his grandmother present. He states the first suspect was the following description: black boots, black cargo pants, black t-shirt with writing, black trench coat, sunglasses, no hat, short and skinny with light brown hair, white male, single barrel sawed-off shotgun with an undescribed weapon. Second suspect, black boots, black pants, black trench coat, black stocking cap, and taller than the first guy with ear-length hair, unknown weapon. Katzenmeyer was shown a photo lineup. He did pick out photo number 2, which is Eric Harris. He did initial the photo. He states that at the time he observed these 2 persons, that he could hear gunshots in the upstairs area of the school. Let me repeat that again for the coincidence theorists. He also states that at the time he observed these 2 persons, that he could hear gunshots in the upstairs area of the school. And he's not the only one. No further interview. Nothing else followed up on. But all these witnesses are hallucinating, right? They're all hallucinating. All 100+ of them. And number 15, Alicia Mayes, we already went over her account, 22,755. Saw 4 people with trench coats and guns, according to Rachel Nelson. 16, Natalie Baker, freshman, 2583, told her mother there were 2 other shooters besides Harris and Klebold. So this is actually a curious interview with Natalie Baker. So this is dated April 28th regarding the April 27th interview. So Natalie Baker, student at Columbine High, and possibly was in the cafeteria during the shooting. So, also present during this time was a friend of Natalie who identified herself as Ashley Eagleland. Ashley is also a student at Columbine and was in the school at the time of the shooting. Natalie confirmed she was in the cafeteria when the shooting broke out. She was sitting at a table identified as V on the diagram, labeled Baker. She continued to say that she was sitting with Marnie McKellen, Jenny Pollock, and Bay Gattant. Natalie related that she had placed her backpack under her chair. She advised she had a black JanSport. It contained her makeup and glasses. She continued to say at about 11:20 a.m., she noticed the janitor running back and forth and heard him say they had guns. At this point, a teacher ordered everyone in the cafeteria to get under the tables and stay down. Natalie noticed that there were shots, and while she was hiding under the tables, she noticed a male subject standing in the hall in front of the student store near the southeast corner of the cafeteria. She continued to say that the subject was wearing a black trench coat, but she could not say whether this person was armed. She did say that she did not observe this subject fire any shots. After a while, she reported that she, along with a large group of students, ran up the stairs that lead to the main level South Hall, ran out of the school by way of the main entrance of the school. Natalie said that the group ran across South Pierce Street to park on the east side of Pierce Street where they stopped. While they were there in the parking lot, a teacher told them to get down and that they, the suspects, were coming. However, nothing else happened. Natalie reported that she did not observe any type of large duffel or gym-type bag in the cafeteria when she arrived, nor did she see anyone carry such an item into the cafeteria while she was there. She continued to say that she did not know the person she saw at the cafeteria entrance near the student store. Natalie reported that she heard the subject at the southeast entrance to the cafeteria say, "Anyone wearing a white hat is gonna die," but she did not hear this herself. So I guess she's reporting someone else stated that to her. Natalie stated that she had heard nothing about the incident before it occurred. She said she knew nothing about anyone bringing guns or bombs into school, nor had she heard anything about anyone making bombs. At this point, Natalie glances at Eagleland. Natalie continued to say that she does not know anyone associated with the Trenchcoat Mafia other than seeing them in school. At the end of the interview with Natalie, Deborah Baker said to Ashley, "You saw them, didn't you?" Ashley acknowledges that she had seen two of the shooters, so I began an interview with Ashley. Okay, I spoke to Deborah Baker on April 28th by phone. She reported that Natalie had told her when she picked Natalie up after the incident that there had been possibly two other shooters other than Harris and Klebold, but Natalie did not know them. She continued to say that Natalie had told me was the same that had been related to her. Ms. Baker also states that the statements made by Ashley Eagleland was the same thing that she had been told by Ashley, and that she had cautioned Ashley that before she repeated the story, that Ashley should be darn sure it was true, since it was a very serious accusation. Okay, so let's look at Ashley Eagleland's report, document 5247, serious accusations. Document, so this is dated April 28th regarding an April 27th interview. So this was the same interview with Natalie Baker, but at the same time. And so Natalie's mother, Debbie Baker, asked the second subject, "Ashley, you saw them too." At this time, the second female subject identified herself as Ashley Eagleland, a 9th grader at Columbine High. Ashley stated that she was in the gym area with a gym class when they heard shots coming down the area from the area of the library. Ashley said that she walked to the north corridor from the gym corridor. At this time, she met a girl she knows only as Lacey, who was running toward her to the east. Lacey was shouting, "They've got guns and are shooting people." At this time, Ashley stated that she observed two male subjects coming around the corner of the library hall into the north hall. Ashley advised both subjects were armed. According to Ashley, as soon as both subjects saw her and Lacey, they started shooting at them. Ashley said that they both ran back down the gym hall and into the gym. There, they hid in a small room off the gym for a short period of time, then exited the building by way of the weight room. Ashley said that the class ran across the school grounds into Clement Park. Ashley estimated that she was 15 to 20 feet from the males when they started shooting at her. According to Ashley, both males were talking and laughing amongst themselves. She advised that when the males noticed her and Lacey, they said nothing before they started shooting. Ashley advised that when they first encountered the males, she got the impression that they had just shot another girl by the way they were talking. One said to the other, "Good job, guys." That's weird. If there's only two of them, why is one saying to the other, "Good job, guys"? Huh. And they started laughing. Ashley identified the shooters as Eric Harris and Redacted. According to Ashley, Redacted was dressed in a white shirt with a black trench coat over it. She said that Morris was armed. So this is Chris Morris she identified, and they forgot to redact his name here. She said that Morris was armed with a handgun while Harris was armed with a shotgun. Ashley said that she was not sure about Redacted's identity until her sister Heather, showed her a Columbine yearbook. She saw his picture in the book. Ashley is sure the two shooters she observed were Eric Harris and Redacted Morris. Ashley advised that she had not been in the cafeteria prior to the shooting and knew nothing about the duffel bags in the cafeteria. Ashley said she had told her parents about the shooting, but she had not been contacted by anyone in law enforcement before April 27th. She did advise that she had done several interviews with Channel 7. Here's a May 6th interview. This is document 5250. The following is a history on how witness Ashley Engeland is familiar with Dylan Klebold, Eric Harris, and Redacted. Dylan Klebold has seen Dylan with Eric Harris on several occasions around school, involved in the video filming for the Rebel News Network. Dylan came into her science class with Eric Harris and asked Miss Hyatt how she wanted her webpage designed, or words to that effect. Has seen Dylan around school several occasions in a trench coat and was pointed out by her friends as Dylan. Recognizes Dylan as having a broader nose, taller, and not as scrawny as Chris Morris. And of course, why would she be relating to this Chris Morris if she did not identify Chris Morris? Eric Harris has seen Eric Harris about 10 times around school wearing a trench coat. Eric came into her science class with Dylan Klebold and asked Miss Wyatt how she wanted her webpage designed, or words to that effect. Has seen Eric with Dylan Klebold on several occasions around the school, involving in the filming for Rebel News Network. Ran into Eric and Chris Morris in the hall several months ago. Ashley remembers saying sorry to Eric, and Eric said don't worry about it. Described Eric as being nice about bumping into her, whereas Chris Morris told me to watch where you're going, you expletive. Eric and Chris had on trench coats. Chris Morris had on his typical black beret and his sunglasses. Ashley is friends with Katie Thompson and had been with Katie when she was talking to Eric Harris. Ashley stated that Eric was going to ask Katie Thompson to the prom, but never did to her knowledge. Ashley stated that she had been with other friends that have pointed Eric out to her while at school. Ashley stated that she had mutual friends of Eric Harris. She stated that these friends having bowling class with Eric Harris and therefore know him. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of redacted. I'm assuming this is Chris Morris because this was she was talking about before. So a whole paragraph redacted here. Then we have has seen Redacted interviewing students for the Rebel News Network. She specifically remembers him interviewing students about the Denver Broncos. Has seen Redacted about 4 or 5 times. Maybe this... Okay, recognizes Redacted as having glasses and generally described as shorter and scrawnier than Dylan Klebold. Okay, so maybe this is not Chris Morris. Chris Morris is 6'4", Klebold is 6'3". Ashley stated that she saw Redacted about 2 weeks before the April 20th incident. She stated that she was with Natalie Baker, Kelsey Fowler, when she observed the following. Redacted and another unidentified white male were in the same hall about 10 or 15 feet farther to the west. Redacted and this other male had on black trench coats. The two males were walking east down the hall while 2 other white males were filming them with a video camera. She can only identify those 2 filming males as member of the AV Tech Room and the Rebel News Network. Huh. Shorter and scrawnier than Klebold. Could that be Dykman? Or is this maybe Eric Vike? Dykman or Vike, possibly Dykman. Lacey stated, okay, so gunman number 1, gunman number 2. So gunman number 1, white male, about 6 feet tall with a nondescript build, dirty blonde hair, 1 inch long on top, sort of like a spike. Was not wearing anything on his head. No facial hair, no glasses. No hat. Had on a black trench coat about 2 or 3 inches above the top of his boots. Black boots, black t-shirt, but it could have been something over a shirt, like a shirt over a shirt. Nothing printed on the shirt. That's curious. So did some of these guys wear 2 shirts and take one off at some point? The black trench coat was open in the front, and the pockets of the coat were bulging with something. Gunman number 1 looked sort of fat around the middle, and it could have been what he was wearing. Huh. Or is that a Robert Perry? Chris Morris, maybe? Pants were dark, could have been camouflage type, either dark brown or dark green. Feels that there was some light color in the pants, but cannot describe further. Carrying long gun about 25 inches long and black, showed the investigator how gun number 1 carried the long gun in both arms. He was a right-handed individual. Shot the doors and lockers about 10 or 20 times rapidly, smiling and laughing as he walked down the hall. Gunman number 1 did not make eye contact with witness Egeland, did not have gloves on. Ashley Egeland stated that she recognized gunman number 1 as Eric Harris. Okay. Gunman number 2. Wow, this can't be Chris Morris. White male, about 5'8", described as same size as me, Ashley, with a scrawny body and glasses. Reading glasses, nondescript, not sunglasses. Huh. I mean, Chris Morris does wear glasses, but he's 6'4". Unless, of course, she felt the distance was off. I don't know. Dark brown hair below the ears, curled at the back. Ashley showed me with her hair and was referring to the lateral edges of the back. Wearing a white shirt, possibly a white t-shirt with nothing on it that she could tell. Did not have any type of a hat on. So gunman number 1 is Eric Harris. Gunman number 2 is only 5'8". About Eric Harris's height. But she described gunman number 1, Eric Harris, as about 6 feet tall. So the second gunman is shorter than Eric Harris? I'm not following if she's saying this is Chris Morris. Also, Klebold has a black shirt, but she's saying this gunman number 2 has a white shirt. Did not have any type of hat on. Black trench coat went halfway down to his calf. Did not feel there was anything bulging from his pockets. Black boots with a heel, wearing dark pants, maybe dark camouflage. Nothing in his hands, nothing on his hands, carrying a black handgun in his left hand. The gun looked similar to this investigator's semi-automatic versus a revolver that Ashley was familiar with, carrying nothing in his right hand, laughing as he was walking. Ashley stated that gunman number 2 made eye contact with her. Shot about the same number of times as Eric Harris. Ashley Egeland stated that she recognized gunman number 2 as redacted. She stated neither student had any bags with them. She said she was stunned when she ran around the corner. It feels like she looked at them for about 15 seconds. So that seems like a pretty good look. Ashley stated when she got home that day, she told her sister Heather, a senior at Columbine High, and her father about redacted. She stated that her sister challenged her about redacted actually being Dylan. Ashley stated that she said, no, Dylan has a broader nose and doesn't wear glasses like redacted does. Ashley stated that Heather got the yearbook out and they looked up redacted, to which she said, that's him. Miss Egeland confirmed this conversation. Ashley stated that she is sure it was redacted. She stated that it was not Dylan Klebold. Let me read that again for the coincidence theorists. She stated that it definitely was not Dylan Klebold. So again, if people are unsure, fog of war, whatever, what would you expect them to say? I couldn't really tell. Not make definitive IDs. This investigator talked to Ashley and her mother at great length about the identification, and Ashley stated she is 99.9% sure it was redacted. She stated that she understood that nobody else has mentioned his name, but that redacted was the one shooting at me. And of course, the investigator is lying to her when she's telling her nobody else mentioned these names, because all these other names, Chris Morris, Robert Perry, Brian Sargent, Joe Stair, were named by multiple witnesses. Not just one or two, many, many witnesses, dozens of witnesses. And this investigator is telling her nobody else mentioned his name in attempting to gaslight her. Also, in the report, I have attached Detective Steffi's report, dated April 27th, regarding a similar interview with Egeland. Detective Steffs did state that he forgot to include in the report that Ashley mentioned redacted as wearing glasses at the time of the shooting. So was Dylan Klebold not wearing glasses at the time of the shooting? I mean, this is so tragic and sad to read in in these, just basically these teenage kids' handwriting. I mean, she's got an attached statement here that she signed, I, Ashley Eagleland, recognized Eric Harris and redacted in the hall while I was by the gymnasium shooting at me and other people. So she wrote this in typical teenage handwriting, and it's just so sad that she even had to write this, that these individuals were shooting guns at her. I mean, we're going over all these nitty-gritty details, but it's so sad on a whole nother level. The fact that this event even occurred is just so unnecessary. Here's the follow-up interview, October 7th. In reference to her observation and identification of Redacted being one of the gunmen at Columbine High School on April 20th, 1999. Also present during the interview were Ashley's parents, Richard and Sharon, and her sister, Heather. I questioned Ashley about the statement she made to Agent Tim Steffes when he interviewed on her April 27th. During the interview, Ashley told Agent Steffes that she was not sure of Redacted's identity until she was shown a Columbine yearbook, at which time she picked Redacted out of the book as one of the shooters involved. She also reiterated that she was positive the other gunman she saw at the high school was Eric Harris. You know what's weird, though? The coincidence theorists maintain witnesses are not reliable, yet for some reason they're reliable when what they see match the official narrative. So her identification of Eric Harris, reliable. Her identification of Redacted, not reliable. I mean, this is the logical inconsistency of silly coincidence theorists. Again, I am not claiming anyone was there or not there, or involved or not involved. I wasn't there. I didn't see who was there. So I have no way of knowing, but I'm not going to pretend and hallucinate. I know for sure which witnesses are accurate and which are not. I showed Ashley Agent Steffi's report, at which time she confirmed that it wasn't until she saw the yearbook that she positively identified Redacted as the other gunman. I referred Ashley back to the interview she had with Dan Fanastial on May 6th, at which time she told investigator Fanastial that the two gunmen she saw inside Columbine were Eric Harris and Redacted. I asked Ashley if she believes she could have made a mistake on her identification of Redacted. She told me she did not believe she made a misidentification. Ashley was told that during the course of the investigation that Redacted had been contacted by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and interviewed at great length. I explained to Ashley that we had learned through our investigation that Redacted had left Columbine High School prior to the shooting incident and was off campus when the incident occurred. So who was there that left? Was that Brian Sargent? Are we talking about Brian Sargent here? Huh. At this point, I showed Ashley a timeline that was prepared in reference to Redacted's activities on April 20th. I went over the timeline with Ashley and had her read through the timeline. After Ashley finished, she handed the timeline back to me and said, with the information you're providing me, it looks like I made a mistake, but she told me in her mind she believed that Redacted was still the individual that she saw in Columbine High School with Eric Harris. So she refused to be gaslit. But she acknowledged that with the information you're providing me, she said, if the information is accurate, then it looks like she made a mistake, but her memory is her memory. She's not going to change her memory just because the investigator's trying to gaslight her. I mean, she could be talking about Chris Morris, though, because apparently he attended his third period government economics class taught by Mr. Tonelli. He did not attend his fourth period acting class, left Columbine at 10:20 a.m. So even if this apparently was verified by several witnesses who reported seeing Chris drive from the school in a red compact car. So they saw him drive away at 10:20 a.m. Now, did he come back in another vehicle? Did he come back not in a vehicle? Nobody knows that. So what witnesses did confirm that he left. His alibi is, of course, his buddy, Corey Friesen, fellow Trenchcoat Mafia member. So what to make of that alibi, I don't know. Okay. 11:45 a.m., Chris called Jeffco County Sheriff's Office and spoke with investigator Tom Asierno. Chris was calling from the Friesens' home. I assume this was corroborated, unless this story was fabricated if Chris Morris got some kind of immunity, they fabricated that. But that's 11:45. Is that enough time to do some shooting between 11:20 and 11:30? How long does it take to get to Friesens' home? I don't know. I don't know if that was checked out. I provided Ashley with some still photographs, 44, 47, 52, 53. Those photos were recovered from the time-lapse cameras in the cafeteria. The photographs depict Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold. At which time, I asked Ashley if these were the two individuals that she saw in Columbine High School. Ashley immediately confirmed that she saw Eric Harris, but told me she did not see Dylan Klebold, telling me again that she believed the second gunman was redacted, possibly Chris Morris. I went over information we had obtained through additional witnesses that were in the same area where Ashley was at, telling her that several other witnesses positively identified Eric and Dylan as being the two armed gunmen. At this time, I again asked Ashley if she made a mistake in her identification of redacted. Again, Ashley told me that it was possible, but still believed that redacted was the other gunman she saw at school that day. I mean, see, this is someone who's being honest, but refusing to be gaslit. So she's admitting she could be wrong, but she refuses to change her memory because she believes she saw what she saw. In reference to investigator Fanenstile's report, Ashley stated that she was with a student known to her by the first name of Lacey. I asked Ashley if she could provide any additional information on helping us identify Lacey, telling her that we have been unable to identify the person through interviews we conducted. Ashley told me she believes that the student's name was Lacey, telling me she thinks Lacey moved because she has not been there so far this school year. This report is October 8th, 99. Nothing further here. So this is someone who's being polite, who's admitting they might be mistaken, and she's clearly shown photos of Dylan in the cafeteria. She's saying that's not the guy she saw. She believes she saw, I'm guessing, Chris Morris here. We went over Jennifer Tyndall's account before, 1226, 2 suspects, neither of which were Harris and Klebold. 18th account, Ryan Ezzy, sophomore, document 2967, saw 4 people outside with hats on backwards. On document 2612, he says he saw at least 4 parties dressed in black standing calmly when others were running by the school library. That's curious. So these people aren't doing shooting, but they don't seem to be bothered by everybody running in a panic. Is that because they know something? So let's look at Ryan Ezzy's account here. I saw 4 kids standing outside, dressed in black, with hats on backwards. I couldn't see who they were. I was too far away. See, again, we have an honest witness here. He's not claiming to make IDs he can't make. Regarding the question here, the questionnaire, Team 4 interview guidelines. Did you see Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold either Monday or Tuesday? And he said, don't think so. Again, he could not identify these individuals. They didn't seem interested in doing any kind of follow-up interviews with this guy. So also document 2612 says that Ryan Ezzy ran upstairs, walked toward library, saw holes in the library window, saw at least 4 parties, at least, so possibly more, standing calmly when others were running, hid in office. Curious. That's a curious observation. 19th account, not matching the official narrative. Jordan Grimm, freshman, 22-432. According to Jordan's aunt, he saw Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold and 2 others together outside the school just before the incident began. The other thing that's curious is a lot of students might be afraid to tell police what they saw, or they don't want to get involved, but they told their friends, and the friends reported it to the police. And is that why we have so many conflicting accounts here? Because in Jordan Grimm's interview, he doesn't mention any of this. But according to Jordan's aunt, he saw Harris and Klebold, 2 others, just outside the school just before the incident began. This is document 22-432. It's a curious document. So this lead sheet received info from a parent, Debbie Dooley, that a student, Jordan, last name possible Grimm, observed Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, and 2 other students, and redacted, at school together, outside just before the incident began. Debbie Dooley was told this by Jordan's aunt, Leslie Black, who said Jordan is afraid to come forward and does not get along with police. Wow, that's curious. So Jordan did not tell this to police. He didn't even mention it. And according to the document we have on Jordan, the police didn't even ask. Huh. That's weird. And apparently there's a redacted part of that too. 2 other students, comma, redacted, comma, at school together. Weird. Weird. The truth is not afraid of investigation, so why are there so many issues, so many redacted So many missing documents, sealed documents that possibly will never be released. If there was a cover-up, conspiracy and cover-up, is this what it would look like? Number 20, John Spallinger, document 1176, Clement Park maintenance worker. A majority of students Spallinger helped informed him there had been a Trenchcoat Mafia gang shooting over at the high school and that there were 4 shooters involved. Let's look at Spallinger's account, 1176. First heard gunfire that morning and observed approximately 10 to 12 students running towards his maintenance building. Spallinger began assisting those students climb over the chain link fence which separated Clement Park from Columbine High School. While assisting the students, Spallinger believed he heard more gunfire and rounds going over their heads, to include his own. Spallinger placed the students inside his maintenance facility for safekeeping. A majority of the students Spallinger helped informed him there had been a Trenchcoat Mafia gang shooting over at the high school and that there were 4 shooters involved. One of the shooters was described as a tall white male with a white shirt. Tall male with a white shirt. Dylan Klebold's according to the official narrative, he's the tall male of the two, but he's wearing a black shirt. That's weird. It's kind of weird. The students were initially at the soccer football fields, advised Spangler that when one of the Trenchcoat Mafia gang members had dropped his coat, they observed him carrying a gun, and that was when they began running towards Clement Park. Just another curiosity. Now here's something interesting. I don't know if I've heard this talked about before. This is really, really bizarre. 21. Thornton North Glen PD SWAT team. El Paso report 934. At 11:35 p.m. Let me repeat that. 11:35 p.m. on April 20th. So this is 12 hours after the shooting. The team enters Columbine High School for another search. Quote, we were advised that 2 suspects, in parentheses, shooters, might still be in the school, end quote. I would like to know why they thought that and what prompted that secondary search. Also, it kind of makes more sense now why they were when the SWAT evacuated everybody, they told them to put their hands on their head or they will be shot. And then so many students were also patted down. Did they feel that all of the additional gunmen were now going to pose as students after the initial mayhem was over? Also, it doesn't make sense. If they truly believed there were 8 or more shooters, is that why they didn't want to go into the school? They thought the casualties would be higher with that many shooters? What info did they have that they did not relay to the public? So let's look at the El Paso report, 9-34. So here's this document which pretty much just states what was stated earlier. The mission assigned to our SWAT team was to work jointly and in cooperation with the other SWAT teams on scene. When given the order to enter Columbine High, we were to conduct a slow and very methodical search in hopes of finding any possible survivors, to address any casualty first aid needs, to record the location of any fatalities encountered, to record the location of all unexploded ordnance bombs and exploded ordnance not previously tagged, and finally to report and engage with any hostiles we may encounter. We were advised that 2 suspects, in parentheses shooters, might still be in the school. Who advised them of this at this time? The event timeline here. This is weird. This is 11:30 p.m. They're advised that 2 suspect shooters might still be in the school. Weird. So who knows why SWAT thought there were more shooters in the building at 11:35 p.m. However, after all the police arrived, so if there were other Trenchcoat Mafia members from either other schools or possibly also from Columbine or whomever, other associates, so to speak, it's possible they got out if this was all done within minutes. But what about if there were more shooters or accomplices who weren't shooters or whoever, handlers or just other individuals who were not students and not victims and they were affiliated with shooters in some capacity, they wouldn't have been able to get out unseen, would they? Did they hide in the school for these 12 hours and somehow somebody spotted 1 or 2 of them, or there was a tip that they were still hiding and they're false or not? Maybe it was a false tip, who knows? But or just inaccurate in some way. So we don't know. Littleton PO Mike Iman advised, quote, there were possibly 4 suspects in the school, end quote. This is document 8670. 23rd reference here in over 100 references, not matching the official narrative. Nate Dykman, senior Trenchcoat Mafia associate, said, yes, there were 2 more people in the school with handguns, but they decided to bail. Eric and Dylan went through with it. The other 2 did not. And I believe this was from the email that I went over before. I believe so. So these rumors were persistent. Nate Dykman knows all of these parties. So again, I don't know if this was verified to be his email that stated this, but if it did, then this was his opinion that I guess he was not necessarily comfortable stating. And of course, we went over Dykman's account here. Dykman also volunteered that he saw Klebold give at least $100 in $20 bills to Phil Duran around the end of January 99. This is document 10,695. So some would say he's trying to be helpful. Now, would he also do this? There's a huge redacted section here. So Dykman saw a whole sentence redacted. This is 10,696. This occurred in the garage of Klebold's residence. Klebold related to Dykman that he had been another whole sentence redacted. And then another sentence redacted later. Then on 10,697, Dykman advised that Chris Morris may be able to provide more information about Harris and Klebold's recent activities. Dykman also believed Harris was under the care of a mental health professional and may have been on medication for an unknown mental illness. And of course, there's the medication angle of all of these school shootings, which we're not going to go into now, but some believe that has not been addressed enough. So in a questionnaire here, so he actually took a polygraph, which is curious. Now, I don't know, let's look at the deception markers here, but 10,701 document, it asks, are you going to be completely truthful on this test? As if he was going to say no. He said yes. Are you aware this test concerns what happened at the school yesterday? Yes. Prior to this week, have you ever lied to an authority figure? He stated no. Now, that's a funny question, because does that give him an out for lying now? But on the other hand, are we really to believe that any kid out there, I mean, 99% of kids have lied to an authority figure in some way. I mean, a parent is an authority figure, right? I mean, unless they're saying a police officer, but they didn't say that. They said authority figure. Prior to this week, have you ever lied to an authority figure? He said no. Did you help Dylan and Eric yesterday? No. Before yesterday, did you ever lie to get out of trouble? No. That doesn't even say lie to who. I mean, it could be a friend to get out of trouble, a teacher, whatever. Did you help plan what Eric and Dylan did yesterday? No. Are you afraid people will blame you for what happened? He stated no. Curious. Even though he got out of Dodge. So here's curious. I can't believe this is still in the document. It wasn't redacted. This is document 10,702. So there's 2 questions here. Did you help Dylan and Eric yesterday? His response was no. Did you help plan what Eric and Dylan did yesterday? His response was no. Now here is the opinion of the examiner. It is the opinion of the examiner that Dykman was deceptive when responding to these relevant questions. Let me repeat those questions again for the coincidence theorists. Did you help Dylan and Eric yesterday? His response was no. Did you help plan what Eric and Dylan did yesterday? His response was no. Again, the opinion of the examiner is that Dykman was deceptive in responding to those 2 questions. When confronted with his deceptive responses, Dykman admitted he was withholding information from the investigators. He said he had not been completely truthful because he was afraid that he would be arrested for not reporting this information earlier. Dykman provided information relating to the explosives and firearms acquired by the gunman, which is contained in the enclosed FD-302. So what's weird, though, I guess you could interpret help as, I don't know. See, this is clearly help in the shooting. I mean, he didn't really help them acquire fire. Just because he knew about them wanting to acquire, that's not the same thing as helping. That's did you have knowledge of. So I don't know. Do we buy that explanation there? In his April 20th interview, as stated in document 10,703, Dykeman stated he had no knowledge of, nor did he participate in the planning or execution of the shootings at Columbine High School. Actually, the date of this transcription is dated April 26th. There's no date of the interview, though. So they're asking about the 20th. It doesn't say on the 20th. The date here is the 26th. It said investigation on the 21st. So does that mean this occurred on the 21st? Either way, he stated that he had no knowledge of, nor did he participate in planning or execution on April 20th. He stated he was at his residence at the time of the shooting and watched the events that unfolded from his house. He was friends with the two identified shooters and considered Klebold as one of his best friends. Dykeman stated he worked at Blackjack Pizza along with Harris, Klebold, Christopher Morris, and Phil Duran until April 1st, 1999. Dykeman recalled an incident in late January or early February 1999. He observed Klebold hand Duran a large sum of money behind the Blackjack Pizza shop. Dykeman stated he thought Klebold was buying drugs from Duran and began to harass Klebold about the exchange, as Dykeman is very much against drugs. Dykeman stated that after constant harassment about the money, Klebold told Dykeman that the money was not for drugs, but that he, Klebold, had purchased a gun or guns from Duran. Dykeman remembered the total amount of money was $200 to $300, and he believed that Duran sold Klebold a shotgun and pistol. Klebold never told Dykeman what he had planned on using the weapons for. Okay. And then he described Duran. Dykeman stated he was willing to cooperate in this investigation and would volunteer further details about his knowledge of the people that may or may not be involved in the shootings at Columbine High School. At least that's proper phrasing there, because we don't know. Dykeman also disclosed information about the bomb making, being present during a lot of this. However, he said that they did not build weapons together. Dykeman stated Chris Morris also knew about the explosives and weapons and was present when they tested them behind the Blackjack Pizza. Okay. Dykeman believed Duran was a tag-along and the main gun supplier was Mark Maines. Dykeman was really in the know about all this stuff, huh? Dykeman stated he saw the sawed-off shotgun Klebold purchased at Klebold's house. Dykeman stated he was in the limo with Klebold prom night with Morris, Markham, Epling, Setchler, Anderson, and Setchler's boyfriend name unknown. Dykeman stated Harris showed up at the after prom and was in a normal mood. Dykeman stated Klebold and Harris left the after prom approximately 2:30 a.m. He stated he did not know where they went. Dykeman does not remember seeing them again or Klebold's date Anderson. He stated Morris did not leave the after prom with Harris and Klebold because he remembered seeing Morris after the two had left. Dykeman stated he and Epling remained at the after prom until approximately 4 a.m., went to the mountains to watch the sunrise, and then returned to Epling's house. Dykeman stated Harris and Klebold were not in any of their classes on the day of the shooting. He said the last time he saw either of them was before he left school. He stated the last time he saw either of them before he left school was on the 19th. He saw Harris and Klebold after fourth period, and they seemed normal on the 19th, not the 20th. Dykeman said he did not know of any gathering at the Outback restaurant, so he could not help with that. He stated if they went to dinner, they did not invite him. Dykeman said if there was a dinner, Morris, Markham, Duran, Harris, Klebold, and Anderson might have been the people at it. Dykeman stated he was at school on the day of the shooting, but left just before it actually started. He stated he always goes home for lunch and remembered leaving at approximately 11:20 a.m. See, I don't know. Is this too coincidental that all these people are leaving within minutes or seconds of when the shooting started? Because they also know they could be spotted leaving. Why is he saying he was home at the time of the shooting? The shooting was between, 11:17 a.m. and 11:20 something a.m. and he said he's leaving at 11:20. That does not place him at home at the time the shooting begins. He stated he does not eat lunch every day with Klebold and Harris. He stated he goes to his house and Epling always goes to her house. And of course, I'm sure that could be verified, right? He stated he has only a couple minutes to eat and he has to get back to school. Dykeman stated he left through the west. Does that seem logical? So him and his girlfriend do not want to eat together. They each go to their own house to eat, and they only have a couple minutes by the time they have to come back to the school. I don't know. Does this sound like a normal high school couple? I don't know. I'm not saying they're lying, obviously. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I don't know. There's something off. There's something seems a little off about that. I don't know. Dykeman stated he left through the west doors of the school and walked down the dirt path next to the school. He stated he did not see anyone wearing a trench coat throughout the morning, nor did he see anyone outside the west doors. Dykeman stated his car was parked near Harris and Klebold's vehicles, however, neither of their cars were there, which is weird because other witnesses place Harris and several other trench-coated individuals at his vehicle at approximately 11:20 a.m., the same time Dykeman is stating he's leaving. Does this not seem strange to anybody? I don't know. I mean, coincidence theories could really have a field day with this case. I mean, it's just astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. Where are the security cameras? Apparently there was a security camera outdoor. I don't know exactly where on the building it was, but it did exist. So, I mean, that was verified by somebody. I'll be getting into that later. There's a number of cameras. So there might not have been a camera in the actual library. Again, that's disputed. But it is stated in multiple sources that there were cameras elsewhere. Okay, so the other thing that's kind of weird, those that think Harris and Klebold had something to do with the cameras being shut down, why would they shut them down? And if they were going to shut them down, how come they didn't shut down the cafeteria one? If they're after fame and all of this stuff, notoriety for the shooting, and they want to be remembered forever, why would they disable the system? They would want it to record them. On the other hand, if there's multiple shooters or some kind of other operation going on, they wouldn't want that known, especially if they're looking to blame exclusively Harris and Klebold. Even if they're responsible, they're looking to place the blame only on them and not other individuals who may or may not have been involved, in which case it makes sense that they would want to sabotage the security system. Okay, so he did not see anyone wearing a trench coat throughout the morning, nor did he see anyone outside the west doors. Dykeman stated his vehicle was parked next to Harris and Klebold's. However, neither of their cars were there. So he's stating Harris and Klebold's vehicles were not in their spots at approximately 11:20 a.m., wherein many witnesses, even as early as, I think, as 11:14 to 11:17 a.m., people reported some of the witnesses actually said they were looking at their watch. So it was within seconds of that time. Even if their watch is, let's say, a little off, if the trench-coated individuals begin shooting at 11:17 a.m. or even 11:20 on the dot a.m., I mean, if Dykeman is mistaken even by a minute, even by a few minutes, it still doesn't line up. He stated as he was driving out of the parking lot, he saw Harris walking from the area of the junior parking lot towards the south cafeteria doors. He stated Harris was wearing a black trench coat and carrying a small black bag in his hand. He stated Harris had the small bag before in school and it contained his CD Walkman and other regular possessions. He stated he did not speak to Harris and that Harris was alone. Dykeman stated he did not see Klebold. Dykeman stated when he was returning to school, he came across a roadblock at Columbine and Pierce, and again at Pierce and Walker. He stated that the police had both intersections blocked, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. He stated it was approximately 11:40 a.m., and he saw kids being routed out of the area. And I'm just going to interject another point here. If Dykeman did get immunity for his cooperation and helping him nail Duran and Maines and those individuals that were responsible for supplying them with the guns, if they granted him immunity, he wouldn't ever really have to tell the truth. Again, that doesn't mean he was a shooter in any way. But if he was maybe walking, maybe he was, again, I've postulated this, maybe some of these Trenchcoat Mafia member guys, they were just acting tough, and sure, they might have wanted to beat some people up and make them scared. They never wanted to actually kill anybody, and maybe they were trying to talk Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold out of it. When that failed, they told police they wouldn't want police to know that because the police would obviously think the police would think they were complicit if they were hanging around these shooters while they were shooting people and didn't physically stop them. Even though, I mean, if they're fearing for their life and they think Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold are going to shoot them if they physically try to stop them, but maybe they were just hanging around and watching. I don't know. Again, it's impossible. Unless you were there, you don't know. Coincidence theorists love to pretend to know and have blind faith in the idiot box, but how often does the idiot box narrative actually turn out to be completely accurate? Dykeman said he saw Jen Harmon and he asked her what was going on. Harmon stated 2 kids in trench coats were shooting up the school. Dykeman stated he did not want to believe it was Harris and Klebold, but he thought it might be. He stated both of them had been acting strange for the last few months, but Klebold had been making future plans to move to Phoenix. and attend school, not to shoot up the school. Dykeman stated he returned home, called Klebold's father. He stated Klebold's father had no idea what was going on at the school. Klebold's father told Dykeman something like, "Oh my God," and left the phone to see if Dylan's coat was in the house. Dykeman stated Klebold's father returned to the phone and stated the coat was not there. See, this whole conversation does make it seem like Dykeman most likely was not involved as a shooter. Why would he call? Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. He seems like he was really concerned. Now, does that mean he knew things that he hasn't disclosed out of guilt or whatever? But he seems to be trying to do the right thing at this point in time. Dykeman stated Klebold's father became extremely upset, and Dykeman began to cry while talking to the reporting agent. Dykeman stated he could still, again, so he's crying here when guys like Joe Stair are just smiling all over the place. Just a little bit of contrast there, just saying. Also, some of the other Trenchcoat Mafia members just didn't seem that upset at all, and if those accounts about gloating and smiling after the fact, if those are true. But here, Dykeman is responding differently, and then we also see Brooks Brown respond differently, and then also Eric Vike responds quite differently than the rest of them. What that means, again, I'm not pretending to know, just pointing out the differences here. Dykeman stated he still could not believe Klebold had something to do with the shooting, and Harris must have had something on him to cause him to participate. He could not believe Klebold shot himself. Dykeman stated he could not believe Klebold could have kept this secret, and Dykeman felt he should have done something to help Klebold. Again, this is a different narrative than the other Trenchcoat Mafia members, who I don't remember them saying anything of the like. Just that they either were surprised or not surprised or whatever. He's saying he's saying he felt he should have done something to help Klebold. Dykeman was asked about his knowledge of Brooks Brown, Chris Morris, and Robert Perry. He stated Chris Morris was probably Harris's friend, but he did not know if Morris knew about the shooting. He stated Brooks Brown was never part of the group, and he is a compulsive liar. So now we have yet another individual blowing the whistle on Brooks Brown. The principal, all these other people, Eric Harris's father. It seems a lot of people believe that Brooks Brown was a compulsive liar and cannot be trusted in any way. Dykeman was also asked if he had ever dyed his hair blonde or knew anyone in school as tall as him with dyed blonde punk hair, and Dykeman is 6'2". He stated he has never dyed his hair, and the only kid that he has seen recently dyed his hair blonde is Brooks Brown. Huh. But he didn't have his hair dyed the day after. Did he have his hair dyed the day after, or is he referring to like a week or two prior? But Brooks Brown is 6'5". He stated Brown would change his hair often. Dykeman stated no one he knows likes Brooks Brown. Wow. So he doesn't know anybody who likes Brooks Brown, and he stated that Brooks Brown is a compulsive liar, but he's also not implicating him. That's very important here. He doesn't like Brooks Brown. He said Brooks Brown is a compulsive liar that can't be trusted about anything, but he said Brooks Brown is not a part of the group. Curious. Dykeman stated that Robert Perry was a weird guy in school that none of the previously mentioned people hung out with. He stated Perry was strange. Now, if Dykeman was busy with his girlfriend, as he admitted the past few months, he might have not known that, but there's a lot of witnesses that place all these individuals with Robert Perry as well. Dykeman was asked who La Vida X was, and he may have stated it was a screen name that he or Klebold may have used. He doesn't remember if he or Klebold used it. He stated Harris had a nickname for everyone, and Dykeman's was Devilman. Dykeman stated he thought it was stupid, and Harris was the only one that used it. Dykeman was asked if he had ever sent any threatening email. He stated he was really mad at Devin Adams and may have sent her some bad email. Wow, Dykeman looks like he is being honest about that. Dykeman could not remember what it said, but stated he was mad at her because she was saying things to get Klebold in trouble. Adams is Zach Heckler's girlfriend. Dykeman stated he has never been on a rebel mission and stated he does not know what it is. He stated he thinks NBK stands for Natural Born Killers. He stated Natural Born Killers is a movie title of a film, and it was one of Harris's favorites. You know, a lot of people think it's very suspicious that Dykeman got out of town. But, you know, it's problematic. The whole narrative is problematic. But did he get out of town because he didn't want the situation obviously so psychologically traumatic. If he's 100% innocent, obviously he still might want to get out of town. He might not want to, especially, and if he suspects that other individuals might have helped Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, perhaps even more the reason to get out of Dodge. And he seemed to have fully cooperated with law enforcement authorities, more so than the others anyway. Here's a curiosity, though, in this follow-up document. It seems like Dyckman might not have been given immunity. Let's look at document 10,715. On the dates indicated, the following investigation was conducted by Special Agent Mark Holstlaw, Denver FBI. On February 23rd, 2000, so this is the following year, February 23rd, almost a full year, Nathan Dyckman, current residence in Florida, was telephonically contacted and advised he was requested to take a polygraph exam concerning his possible involvement in the Columbine high school shootings on April 1999. Wow. So almost a full year later, they want a third polygraph for some reason. What caused this February 23rd, 2000 request? Dyckman advised he would discuss the matter with his father, Matt Dyckman, and get back to the FBI with an answer. Dyckman also advised that on January 20th, he had been in contact over the internet with an individual using the email address of this particular email. Dyckman's internet service provider was Juno. Dyckman later ascertained that this email address belonged to a Sarah Harris. Harris informed Dyckman she had previously talked with Dylan Klebold over the internet prior to the Columbine high school shootings. Harris informed Dyckman she would contact him later using a new email address. Dyckman agreed to keep the FBI appraised of his conversations with Harris. On February 24th, Matt Dyckman telephonically contacted the FBI. I like how they don't called the FBI. Telephonically contacted the FBI and expressed concerns about why his son was being requested to take another polygraph exam. After explaining to Dyckman why his son was being offered another polygraph, he agreed to talk the matter over with his son and get back with the FBI concerning his son's decision. On March 7th, 2000, Nathan Dyckman was telephonically contacted and advised Special Agent Holstlaw that since he already subjected himself to 2 polygraph examinations, he would not agree to a third one. Dyckman advised that the first one, which he believed was fully completed by the FBI, as well as a second one, which was provided by an ATF agent, revealed that he was telling them the truth about his not being involved in the Columbine incident. According to Dyckman, the ATF agent who provided him with a visual polygraph indicated to him that in the agent's opinion, Dyckman had been truthful and therefore would not need to take another polygraph examination. And that's all the documentation here. And of course, we went over alleged dispatch audio. Again, I don't know if this has been verified. Some people believe that the fire truck boy, a kid on the fire truck. So if Nate Dyckman was the fire truck boy who was identified as a possible suspect in this audio transcript, again, that the truth is not afraid of investigation, what's the problem with releasing this information? Especially if Dyckman is found to be 100% innocent, why not release the timeline as it occurred and clearly state officially for the record, Dyckman thought that he possibly might be involved because he was named, but he was cleared by authorities. Why not be transparent with that information if that's what the truth is? Those are the questions, because in non-conspiracy cover-ups, they are transparent with that. You can clearly see a timeline, you can see mistakes, how they were made, and then the investigators might have thought it was this suspect, but then they weren't, they were cleared. This is all out in the open. Clearly we have a cover-up here. Now, for which purpose, we don't know. Does that mean there were multiple shooters? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but there's something going on to keep all these documents sealed. So, is it possible that Nate Dyckman really was trying to talk them down, failed? Maybe they even turned on him. Who knows what happened? Or they just told him, last chance, get away from us. We're following through with it. And then he evacuated through the fire truck, even though him and his father claim he was at home or whatever, stepfather or whatever. So, and then he got out of Dodge, but then he continued to be cooperative here. But now, for whatever reason, they requested a third polygraph. So is it possible that Dykeman, and is that why certain witnesses saw Dykeman and named Dykeman, even though he himself did not actually participate in the shooting? Maybe he was trying to be the good guy and talk them down. Failed, didn't want that to be known because now people would think that he would be guilty or associated with them, but then he cooperated with law enforcement every step of the way. But if he got immunity, now why would the FBI be contacting him for a third polygraph? Doesn't quite make sense, does it? Doesn't quite make sense. Now, even if he's 100% innocent, obviously, why would he take a polygraph? Because if anything, if they find anything deceptive, even if he's not being deceptive, I mean, this is glitchy technology, of course. It's not 100%, not admissible in court. We're not talking about brain fingerprint scan, which is seemingly 100% reliable. Nobody's beaten it yet. I still think there's a $100,000 reward or more for beating the brain fingerprint scan, which nobody has done before. That's why the military uses it. That's why all these upper agencies use brain fingerprint scanning and not this outdated polygraph technology. Either way, Nate Dykeman is, of course, a big question mark. But on the surface, it seems like he's much less likely to be an actual shooter than all these other individuals based on his behavior. Okay, let's move on to the 24th account here, Daphne Baca, 8894. Listed 4 names of possible suspects. Those names include Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, Chris Morris, and Robert Perry. So regarding Baca, it's actually document 8895. So they were concerning the business room of the school. Baca stated it was her understanding 7 students, 2 teachers were there. Baca also informed IO that there were 2 custodians that sought asylum in the large walk-in freezers and were in portable radio contact with security. All of this information was transferred to large charts that were posted on the wall of Arapahoe County Mobile Command Post. It should be noted that Daphne Baca also listed 4 names of possible suspects. Those names included Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, Chris Morris, and Robert Perry. It is unknown to this IO how Daphne Baca had gleaned this information. So that's curious. So if this information is accurate, because by all accounts, Klebold and Harris were accurate, so was she simply told by all these students who they saw? Chris Morris and Robert Perry, of course, again, they are tall. 6'4", 6'5", Klebold 6'3". Is it possible that they were all just mistook for Klebold? I mean, I don't know. It seems unlikely because, again, so many students know all of the individuals in question, and so many reported very pronounced acne and teeth in who they saw. 25, Trista Fogarty, freshman, document number 20,144. Trista said she believes, as do most other students, that there were more than 4 people involved in the shooting. More than 4. So 3 without question, 4 without question. They believe that there were more than 4. So Trista Fogarty, 23,144. So in this lead sheet, during incident, the date on this lead sheet is June 2nd, 9:24 a.m., assigned to Art Peterson. During incident, Trista Fogarty said she was one of the first groups of students out of the school, went to Leawood Park, heard shots and explosives, but did not see the shooters. May have seen Alex Marsh in the library early April 20th, did not see any of the possible shooters, did not see duffel bag or propane tank. Trista could not provide any more info on Scott than is included. Trista said she believes, as do most other students, that there were more than 4 people involved in the shooting. Now, why do they believe that? That's the critical question. That's the critical question, because if dozens and dozens of students, kids that they know and trust and wouldn't lie, specifically saw 2 or 3 other individuals other than Klebold and Harris, then of course they would believe that. Now, were they all mistaken? The coincidence theorists maintain yes. They were all mistaken. And we went over her account in detail earlier too. Jay Adams, the 26th account here, Jay Adams, document 7422, construction worker near Columbine High. He refers to a black BMW and a small tan car drive down his cul-de-sac, followed 5 minutes later by the sound of bombs. Co-worker says the BMW was filled with 4 teenagers. The tan car following it had 2 people in it. Document 7430. Now for the cheap seats, what is 4 plus 2? I mean, that's a tough one. Can coincidence theorists answer that? I don't know. Of course, unless he's also mistaken. Everybody seems to be mistaken. Even when there is no fog of war, there's no actual shooting or bombs going on beforehand, all these witnesses they seem to be mistaken. So let's look at that. 7422. Pretty sloppy handwriting as well. They advised black BMW followed by a small tan car through the cul-de-sac, then left, heading towards Columbine High. About 5 minutes later, there were bangs from Columbine High. Huh. So let's look at the second name document here. 7430. Roger Anderson loading dump trucks at the corner of Cayley Street and Pierce Street across from the south parking lot of Columbine High on the morning of April 20th. Approximately 10 a.m., Anderson recalled seeing a Jefferson County Sheriff's officer on a motorcycle sitting on the Cayley-Pierce intersection watching for speeders, because that's what's important. About 15 to 20 minutes after the officer left the area, Anderson saw two vehicles turn off Pierce and onto Cayley Street. Anderson advised that the two vehicles came about 100 feet onto Cayley Street and then made a U-turn and returned to Pierce. Anderson did not know which direction the vehicles traveled on Pierce. Anderson stated that the first vehicle was a black car or a dark blue car. BMW contained 4 passengers. Anderson recalled that the teenager in the passenger seat of the BMW was wearing a light-colored baseball hat. The second vehicle that was tailgating the BMW was described by Anderson as a light-colored, mid-sized vehicle containing 2 individuals. Anderson shared his information with 2 patrol officers April 21st when he was back at his work site. Anderson stated he had been working in excavation for over 25 years and must always be observant of his surroundings. Anderson stated that he thought it was unusual for kids to be driving around in a BMW, and that is why he took notice of the incident. So apparently, I'm guessing he's stating that these were really young, punk-looking kids in a BMW, as possibly stolen. Anderson advised that he was currently visiting his son in Texas. Okay. So, 6 individuals. So is it possible but if the second vehicle was tailgating and they both U-turned, I mean, that would suggest they were together. Who are these individuals? Now, again, how many BMWs are at play here? We know about Dylan Klebold. Who else had a BMW? Are there students from another high school like Chatfield or otherwise Trenchcoat Mafia students who wanted in on this and it was a bigger plan and they weren't? Is that why they turned down the wrong street and had to pull a Yui? I mean, I'm guessing he couldn't identify their facial features, but he said light-colored hat. Again, maybe this has nothing to do with Columbine, but coincidentally, shortly before the bombings and shootings. So, just another curiosity, probably all coincidental, according to the coincidence theorists. So, 27, Gary Toloco, teacher, document number 8876. He says that the school roof repairman saw 3 people exit the vehicle with Harrison Klebold, and then a tan vehicle followed them into the lot. So now we have corroboration of the construction workers. So there were 2 workers. One of them, we have Adams and his co-worker. Document number 7422 and document 7430. So they saw this BMW and the tan car. Now we have Gary Toloco, a teacher, document 8876. He says that the school roof repairman saw 3 people exit the vehicle with Harrison Klebold, and there was a tan vehicle that followed them into the lot. That matches the account of the construction workers, so now we have definitive evidence. Now we have evidence, I don't know if we could call it definitive, we have corroborating accounts that the BMW and the tan vehicle went to Columbine and that Harrison Klebold were in the BMW. And there was also a tan vehicle. That matches accounts. Very curious. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of other individuals who saw other trenchcoat individuals with Eric Harris in the parking lot. We went over those accounts. So all of these accounts seem to be matching up that Harris was not alone. He had multiple individuals with him. Now, again, that doesn't mean they participated in any shooting, but it means that they're with him shortly, seconds before the shooting. What does that mean? Let's look at this count. 8876. So I actually couldn't find this document regarding the roof repairman. It's not on 8876, so if anyone else can nail that down, they can check that out. Again, just about all of the references here are verified, so I don't know if there was an error in number of the document, but moving on here, so Dick Strange, 28th account, document number 1194. Approximately 11:45 a.m., Strange first observed 4 to 5 individuals, all dressed in black trench coats, standing alongside Columbine High School in the vicinity of the gymnasium. Now, keep in mind, most of these Trenchcoat Mafia students and affiliates supposedly are at home sleeping at 11:45 a.m. So, or watching this unfold on TV, whatever, alibis, mothers, girlfriends. And apparently there are not that many trenchcoat students at the school. So who are these students? Even if they're not involved in the shooting, who are these individuals that are dressed in trench coats? Because apparently, if all of them have alibis and are accounted for, who is just hanging out 4 to 5 individuals in black trench coats at 11:45 a.m.? The individuals got Strange's attention because it was hot that day and they were all wearing black trench coats standing next to a light-colored wall. Strange then observed these individuals walk southwest along the high school, heading from the gym towards the cafeteria area. So this is Strange and Ogle. We went over Ogle's account as well. Now, there's a couple more interesting comments here from Strange, though. So Strange lost sight of the individuals wearing the trench coats. As the two men reached a small structure located near the outfield fence of the southernmost Columbine High School baseball field, Strange began hearing what he thought was possibly firecrackers. So his time is off? So he thinks it's 11:45? Huh. Late morning. He then observed one individual dressed in a trench coat standing in front of the southwest entrance of Columbine High School, the one with the big glass doors. Strange saw this person drop his coat, pull out 2 guns, and begin firing at students socializing in and around the soccer and football field areas. So he's firing 2 guns, one in each hand? That's curious. Strange also heard explosions going off at the time. Strange was positive the weapon this individual fired was fully automatic. So this is an adult here. This is not a kid watching TV. This individual initially fired at the kids on the soccer field, then began firing at other fleeing students in the area. Huh. This is Strange's account. Quite strange. At the time of the shooting, Strange observed only one individual wearing a trench coat because the small structure they were sitting behind had partially blocked his view of the school. Strange assumed this person was one of the 4 or 5 he had initially observed. Strange distinctly recalled hearing 2 different caliber weapons being fired in the area. One of the weapons, possibly a larger caliber, sounded much louder and fired at a slower rate of speed than the other weapon. Strange did not recognize any of the individuals he saw wearing trench coats. Strange then informed Ogle they should immediately leave the area, and the 2 drove off to find a police officer. Okay. Another interesting tidbit here. Strange drove to work at 8 a.m. that morning. Strange recalled driving past a black 4-door 500 series BMW with a white interior, which was headed north away from Columbine. The vehicle drove through the underclass student parking lot located in Clement Park north of the high school. Strange specifically remembered this vehicle because it was full of high school kids and was a lot nicer than the car he owned. Strange knew the vehicle to be a 500 series because he used to work at a BMW dealership. So at about 8 a.m., there's a car full of teens heading away from the school at 8 a.m. Just another one of these curiosities. Let's move on to Patrick Vassar, freshman. This is the 29th account of multiple shooters or accomplices or something strange. So this is document 4691. It sees 4 to 5 individuals at 11:15 dressed in black walking away from the school, all wearing trench coats except one who was wearing camo pants. That's curious. That's curious because, again, the alibis of all these people that are at home sleeping, or at least most of these Trenchcoat Mafia members, or some of them aren't even students anymore. So who are all these individuals wearing trench coats walking around? So at 11:10 a.m., Vassar got out of his fourth period science class, taught by Miss Mosier, proceeded from the science department directly to the cafeteria. Once in the cafeteria, Vassar went directly to the lunch line, got his lunch. Vassar then sat down at a cafeteria table marked FF on the diagram sketch. Other students located at the same table were Kyle, Alex, Zach, Tim, Chris, Austin, and Jeff. Vassar was seated at the table facing west. Kyle Hayes was seated next to Vassar, but Vassar cannot recall whether Hayes was seated to his left or right side. At approximately 11:15 a.m., immediately after Vassar sat down with his lunch, he saw 4 or 5 individuals in black walking away from the school. Everyone in the group was wearing trench coats except one who was wearing camouflage pants. When Vassar saw the group, they were 200 to 300 feet away from the building. They appeared to have come out of the main entrance on the west side of the school. The group was walking abreast on a path that leads away from the entrance. Vassar could not describe them further and did not recognize any of them. At approximately 11:20 a.m., Mr. Sanders ran in from the cafeteria from the exit by the teacher's lounge and told everyone to get down. Okay, there was explosions. Okay. Vassar did not know where the bomb came from. No one seemed to be around the explosion. Someone was driving near the explosion in the parking lot in a blue pickup with a black shell. The truck was being driven by a male who stopped the vehicle, slid over to the passenger side, and took off in the opposite direction of the explosion. The blue truck stopped approximately 20 feet from where the explosion went off. Vassar was at the back of the cafeteria, observed someone laying at the base of the window near the top of the stairs. Vassar was running down the hall. He looked back and saw a person with a gun standing near the top of the stairs in a cloud of smoke. The gunman was holding the gun extended with one hand. The gunman was wearing all black, appeared to have shoulder-length hair. Vassar does not think he was wearing a mask. The gunman shot 10 to 20 times at the fleeing cafeteria students. A male student next to Vassar went down and was yelling for help, but Vassar does not think anyone helped him up. Vassar ran to the end of the hall and exited the school. Vassar then ran across Pierce Street to Leawood Park. Vassar was not in the cafeteria earlier in the day, did not notice any large duffel bags, did not know Eric Harris, Dylan Klebold, or any other members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. During lunch, members of the Trenchcoat Mafia often sit on the floor in the cafeteria near the bottom of the stairs. Vassar does not recall seeing any of them in the cafeteria on the day of the shooting. Ha! Curious. Okay, so what's the deal here with Vassar's account? So basically, also he said the gun was in his right hand, the shooter. He said he was 6'3". Is Dylan left-handed? Either way, so what can we make of all of these accounts of a group of 4 to 5 trench-coated individuals, one of them possibly not wearing a trench coat? What can we deduce from all these sightings, corroborated multiple times over? So who are these people, though? Because apparently all of the Trenchcoat Mafia members are theoretically accounted for. So if Dykeman's going home to lunch or whatever, and Chris Morris also, and then all these other Trenchcoat Mafia members are no longer students, are they all hanging out together outside of the building as spotted? Now, do they not want to go through with it, so they just leave? Coincidentally, minutes or seconds before the shooting starts, they leave, they walk away from the school. Now, whether or not they come back or not, that's a different argument, but let's assume they don't come back. What does this mean? So did they arrive at the school with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold? Were they scheduled to take part in the shooting or bombing or whatever, or did they just want to watch or whatever? Then they just happened to walk away from the school. Did they change their mind? What's the deal here? Or did all these individuals just hallucinate all of these Trenchcoat Mafia members? Or are they not even students at the school? Are they Trenchcoat Mafia members from another school? I don't know. So he said there were 4 to 5 individuals, all but one wearing trench coats. The one that was wearing camouflage pants was not wearing a trench coat. Were these students ever identified, or these individuals, if they weren't students? All right, let's continue here. The 30th account, Seth Biggie Jr., document 2475, was told by Courtney Schakowsky she saw 4 to 5 Trenchcoat Mafia members enter the cafeteria with a big black duffel bag. I mean, where's all the cafeteria footage? I mean, it's mysteriously missing. Just about everything where all of the critical information would be just happens to be not released. Curious. So Seth arrived Columbine High 7:10 a.m. He went to his normal classes. The last prior to first period lunch during math class, he brought his lunch, then sat at either table AA or N with his friends. He didn't notice any duffel bags or packages that seemed out of the ordinary in the cafeteria. He heard a commotion and stood up and looked out the west windows of the cafeteria. He heard students saying that there was a fight. He saw one student who he could not identify run up the grassy hill towards the football field. He then sat back down and didn't realize that anything significant was happening. Then he next heard either Mr. Sanders or a janitor yelling for everybody to get down. Students began getting underneath the tables and he did the same. He now heard popping noises. He began working his way towards the stairs near the trophy cases in a semi-crouched position. Approximately 2/3 of the way to the stairs, he got up and ran to the stairs. He heard a loud noise or explosion at the top of the stairs. He stopped, and instead of using the stairs, he used the language arts hallway. At the end of this hallway, he went into a classroom along with approximately 20 other students, where a teacher named Miss Lucas and another unidentified teacher were located. They were in this classroom for approximately 2 minutes. While in this classroom, they could hear several loud explosions. The teachers then checked the hallway, and when it was clear, they all ran out the exit adjacent to the classroom. Seth ran across the parking lot and into a Mormon seminary house located at Polk and Pierce. A few minutes later, he got a ride to Clement Park with an unidentified student. Prior to April 20th, he knew who Klebold was, but not Harris. He thinks that Friday prior to April 20th, Klebold picked a fight with an unidentified athlete, a jock. He knew who the Trenchcoat Mafia was, but didn't personally know any of the members nor associate with them. After his return to school at Chatfield High School, a girl named Courtney Schakowsky stated that just after fourth period, she saw 4 or 5 Trenchcoat Mafia members enter the cafeteria. She stated that one of them was carrying a big black duffel bag. They entered the cafeteria from the senior parking lot. There are also rumors going around that there was a third shooter. So there's a Jill Schakowsky account, document 4394. So apparently Jill and Courtney are sisters, and I don't see an account of Courtney. Oh, here we go. She's document 1155. I was walking outside, saw at least 2 people walk in with black trench coats. I didn't see any guns. One guy was really tall. It was between 11:10 and 11:20. The second person was significantly shorter than the other. I then left for lunch. This was dated... Wow. It looks like April 20th, 2:50 p.m. This is her handwritten statement. She described the second suspect as 5'4", the first suspect as 6'2". And she said one of them was carrying a black duffel bag in his right hand, but she couldn't remember which one. She stated they both had a huge belt. Courtney stated she now remembers a guy with long blonde hair, ear length, wearing a white t-shirt, who was walking behind the 2 suspects in the same direction. He was about 3 or 4 feet behind them, going in the same direction. Courtney went on to say she attended the after-prom party and saw 6 to 8 Trenchcoat Mafia people, but they weren't wearing their trench coat. All right, interesting. So she saw a third individual, but not more. So, curious. Schakowsky stated there were 3 other people walking behind these 2 subjects while they were in the parking lot. She stated behind them about 3 feet was a white male with long blonde hair wearing a white t-shirt. She stated she never saw this person before. And 2 feet behind him, there were 2 other white males. Wow. She said they were 20 yards away. Huh. So she did see, wow, this is crazy. So she saw, is that 5 total here? So she saw the 2 suspects. She stated there were 3 other people behind the 2 subjects while they were in the parking lot. And then there was another white male behind the other 2. So that's 5 people. Wow. She did see 5 people walking in the same direction. One of them carrying a duffel bag. Very curious. Very, very curious. I don't know what to make of that. That is very curious. All right, number 31, Devin Adams, sophomore, document 10,614, names 3 names as being directly involved in the Columbine shooting. They are not Harris and Klebold. We went over her account before as well. 32nd sighting, Boulder PD SWAT timeline, document 8245. At 2130 hours, 2 suspects believed dead inside, 1 arrest, 1 to 2 other suspects' associates. So they are taking these sightings seriously, of course, of these other students, and then something happened, we don't know what, for the narrative to become drastically changed. 33, Julie Thomas, passerby witness, ACSO 808, that on April 20th, about 7:55, Julie turned onto Polk from Pierce and saw a small brownish golden truck parked on the south side of Polk Street. 5 male teens around it, at least 3 of them wearing black trench coats. This is 7:55 a.m.? Huh. Lot of activity. Pat McDuffie, this is the 34th sighting. Pat McDuffie, Trenchcoat Mafia associate, 10,786. A member of the Trenchcoat Mafia names 5 people attacking the group, says another 5 helped plan the attack and helped provide guns and bombs. So some of these individuals might not have been attendees of Columbine High, but other high schools or dropouts or former graduates. And we went over Pat McDuffie. 35, Melissa Chavez, document 9023, met Harrison Klebold, 4 other boys at the mall. They showed her a map of where they would bomb the school. And I believe we went over that account. I guess we can go over it again, 9023. And this account here is interview Melissa Chavez. Regarding Harris, Klebold were almost always together when she saw them at the Funplex. She added that Harris was really cool and that she knew him better as he spoke with her more than Klebold. She also added that Klebold appeared to want to keep her out of their group. Melissa said that Harris spoke frequently of suicide and told her how his life sucked because people picked on him. She could not provide who was picking on Harris or where this was occurring. She added that she felt she had talked Harris out of killing himself several times. Curious. On approximately July 98, which was about the 5th time she saw Harrison Klebold at Funplex, they were again with 4 other boys that they were with often. Melissa described them group of 6 boys as sitting in the area where she was inside Funplex. She overheard some of their conversation as they were talking about where they were going to place the bombs in the school. And they were pointing to a map. See, you know what's weird, though? For those that don't believe this account, they're a bit skeptical of it. I mean, would these 6 boys be randomly having a map out? I mean, I guess... a map of the school. I mean, that's kind of suspicious to be talking about in public. I mean, they could... I don't know. Especially, they're out late at night doing these missions and these bomb tests and all that. It seems like those would be better times to be going over a map where you're going to place bombs as opposed to in the middle of the Funplex. In the middle of the day. She described the map as being a standard-sized piece of paper, 8 by 5 by 11, and thought it looked hand-drawn. Her perception was this map was of the school as they were talking about where they were going to place bombs in the school. After hearing this, she said she left Funplex. Melissa said at no time did they discuss anything with her about their plans. Melissa could not provide names for the other 4 boys as she did not know them as well as Harrison Klebold. She again added that most of the boys were wearing black when she saw them. Melissa said she last saw Harris 5 months ago at Funplex. She said she didn't stay long due to curfew as it was about 10:45 p.m. She said on this occasion, Harris was again with Klebold and 2 other boys she did not know. Melissa volunteered that she felt bad about having heard them planning the bombing and didn't do anything about it. She said she did not have any contact with anyone over the internet and that they do not have a computer in their home. She also denied being at Columbine the day of the shooting, nor did she know anyone talking about having been there. Huh. Curious. So, okay, and then the background details for those that say she was seeking attention. Apparently, the previous document, 9022, Phyllis Chavez is the mother of Melissa Chavez. She said Phyllis explained that her daughter had told her after the Columbine incident that she had met Harrison Klebold at Funplex in December 97, January 98. She thought her daughter might have confused the year and had actually met them December 98 or January 99. However, added that her daughter has been frequenting Funplex for several years. Phyllis said Melissa had told her one of these occasions she overheard Harris talking with other boys planning the bombing at the school. Okay, Phyllis also volunteered to wake up Melissa to have her speak with me, which she then did. Huh. And this was the telephone interview. That's curious. So the origin of this story is apparently a co-worker of Chavez. Abigail said last Thursday, April 29th at about 5 p.m., Chavez had told her this while working at the pretzel maker at Southwest Plaza. She said that Chavez said about a couple months ago she was at Harris's home when he showed her their layout drawing of Columbine High School where they were going to place their bombs. She added that Chavez told her that there were 5 other guys in Harris's house at the time, but she only knew Harris. Abigail added that another employee, Christine Bell, was present when Chavez was saying this. However, she was afraid to talk with the police about this out of fear of retribution. Abigail said her boyfriend was also present at the store when Chavez told this account. Her boyfriend confirmed this. Huh. That's weird for her to randomly say that on the 29th, though. So this happened on the 20th. I don't know. Some people allege this is simply a cry for attention. Other people allege that there might have been something to this. Huh. Curious. 36th account, Tim Castle, Sr., 3416, tells police of 5 suspects. We went over that. 37, Pam Wood, document 8902, got call at work in Penny's at Southwest Plaza from students trapped in the school. One saw 6 trench coats, and they were all shooting handguns. I couldn't actually find this account, but again, if this is being relayed over the phone, I mean, perhaps not that solid. Then again, it does match all these other accounts of 4 to 5 shooters minimum, or 4 to 5 trench-coated individuals in the area, not scared or whatever, possibly involved. 38th account, Amy Terry, sophomore, 2207, was told by friend Alicia Encianes that she was in the Commons area when trench coaters with masks came in shooting. Running upstairs, she sees 4 people in trench coats coming in through the glass doors at the west end of the main hallway. And this is Terry's account here. Encinas told Terry that she had been in the Commons area when people with trench coats and masks on came into the cafeteria shooting. She didn't know how many suspects there were. Terry stated she did not ask Encinas which door the suspects had entered in the library. Encinas told Terry that she ran upstairs toward the library. When she was in the hallway just outside the library, she could see perhaps 4 people in trench coats coming through the glass doors, which are at the north end of the west hallway that runs along the front of the library. Encinas told Terry that it was the Trenchcoat Mafia. She stated that the suspects shot at her and a teacher. So then they were in the green room, explosions so loud they shook the room. She stated the shootings and explosions went on and off for a very long time. Terry stated she heard a male voice yell, "I want to expletive kill myself," or "I want to expletive die." She could not remember which term was used. She stated she could hear the male voice clearly because he was yelling. She then heard a single gunshot immediately after this statement. Terry does not wear a watch and could not tell me what time this statement was made. And we went over Encinas' report as well. 39th account, Brian Fry, sophomore, document 806. While crawling past the admin office where he just heard gunshots, he saw 5 or 6 persons all dressed in black. We went over that account as well. 40th account, LFD Captain Mike Gorman. El Paso Report 1-335. Captain Gorman told me the only information was that there were 5 to 6 shooters from the Trenchcoat Mafia. How easy is it to mistake 2 for 5 to 6, though? Now, sure, again, there could have been other Trenchcoat Mafia members or trench-coated individuals present who were not actually shooting, but if they were amongst the mess and running around or standing around watching, that makes a lot more sense than people just randomly thinking that 5 to 6 people were 2 people. And again, we have multiple accounts of 1 or 2 suspects taking their time, not being in a hurry. So in order for them to match up all the witness descriptions, they would have had to be running around frantically all over the place to simulate being 5 to 6 people on all sides. 41st account, JCSO Kevin Walker, El Paso Report 1-223. Deputy Walker related the communications center advised there were approximately 6 gunmen dressed in black. 42nd account, JCSO Vincent DeMana El Paso Report 1-363. At 11:35 a.m., Jeffcoat Lieutenant Manwaring advised there were as many as 7 gunmen inside the cafeteria and commons area. See, again, I mean, to mistake 7 for 2 is kind of hard. Now, even 3. So it looks like 4 to 6 would be relatively reasonable for this mess. 4 to 6 could account for everything. CBSNews.com, April 19th, 2001. This is the 43rd account. The cops, believe that they really had 6 to 8 armed individuals inside there. Now, just because they believed it doesn't mean it was true, but clearly there's a paper trail here. 44th account, Adam Campbell Sr., document 732, says fellow student Jessica Cave says she saw 10 shooters at the school. Jessica herself was not interviewed. And we went over why. With, obviously many students, their parents wanted to protect them because they knew their kids saw something that didn't match the official narrative, and they wanted to keep them out of trouble. So, carrying on here in this account, what did the ear witnesses hear? Numerous students heard gunshots, explosions in different parts of the school simultaneously, which of course probably meant more than 2 shooters, as Harris and Klebold were officially together almost the entire time. To wit, 45th account, Sarah Huey, sophomore, document 380, heard bombs in the cafeteria below while the shooters were inside the library exploding bombs. 46th account, John Lapp, document 480, heard gunfire in other parts of the school while the attack in the library was going on. We went over that as well. 47th account, Brandy Wiseman, sophomore, document 4751, caught in one of the rooms off the kitchen, heard gunshots, bombs, and screaming coming from both the cafeteria and the library. 48th account, Holly Pinkham, sophomore, document 1620, says friend Don Goyne had his shoe off while in the middle hall while gunshots were going off in the cafeteria. We went over that as well. 49, Matt Katzenmeyer, sophomore, document 3424, heard shots and explosions inside the school at the same time that there were 2 suspects outside. We went over that as well. 50, Alex Babieniak, freshman, document 1954. He thought the explosions were coming from the level he was on and from downstairs at the same time. Now, again, people always try to claim, the coincidence theorists try to claim fog of war, but see, how come all these other students, they couldn't tell based on where they were? I mean, again, without being in the school and simulating this event with the same volume level bombs and gunfire, I mean, it's really impossible, but it's kind of hard to tell somebody they're wrong if they were there and you weren't. 51st account, Drew Lagorborg, Jr., document 1999, ran west down south hallway. There was a gunman at that end of the hallway, ran to the north hallway. He heard a shooter down that hallway as well. We went over that account. 52, Josh Brinkley, sophomore, document 2528, heard shots downstairs, then different shots upstairs from 2 guns. 53, Jay Galantine, staff, document 3086, sees gunman by the library, runs downstairs where he hears more gunshots. Quote, all this time hearing gunshots all around me and above me, end quote. So gunshots where he was at and also above him. Okay. 54th account, Lindsay Wyant, sophomore, document 4799, heard shots in the cafeteria and the library at the same time. Now, Lindsay Wyant's account is curious. She drops a couple clues here. This report dated May 12th, 99, regarding this investigation. Reporting officer Locke met with Lindsay Wyant at her residence in reference to the Columbine shooting. So, okay. No time given here, but she said she went to the machine during lunch. There was nothing she wanted in one particular machine. Then she went into the vending machine located by the food line. While there, she heard a male say, "Get off of me." And then the male say, "I'm shot, I can't feel anything." Lindsay said she looked outside, saw a male laying on the ground. Lindsay said before she heard the comments, she heard gunshots from outside but did not know where they came from. Lindsay said after this, she heard a teacher telling everyone to get out of the cafeteria. Lindsay said she ran into the kitchen area and then into the cook's office. It'd be also curious, were there 2 different events where a teacher yelled, "Get down," and another teacher yelled, "Get out"? Because how do we match all this up? Lindsay said that she was in the cook's office with numerous other students, and they closed and barricaded the door so no one could get in. Lindsay said there were numerous people knocking on the door trying to get in, but they did not let anyone in as they did not know if they were the shooters or just other students trying to get into the office. Lindsay said she was in the office for approximately 2.5 hours until SWAT got them out. I asked Lindsay if she heard any of the shootings or explosions while in the office. She said she heard shots being fired from above and also heard shots coming from the cafeteria area. From above would be the library. Lindsay said when SWAT team got them out of the office, they ran through the cafeteria to a window. Then they crawled out the window, ran next to the wall of the school to a fire truck where they were taken out of the area. I asked Lindsay if she ever saw who was going into the school. She said no, she did not. I asked Lindsay if she saw two large duffel bags in the cafeteria. She said no. I asked if she knew who Eric and Dylan were, and she said no, she did not. She said she had seen them around school but did not know them. I asked if she had seen them on Monday or Tuesday. She said no, she had not. I asked Lindsay if she left anything in the cafeteria. She left a backpack. Okay. I asked her if she had seen or talked to any of the Trenchcoat Mafia on Monday or Tuesday. She said no. I asked her if she heard anything from anybody regarding other suspects, bombs being made, or buying of guns. She said she heard a rumor that Redacted was a part of this and had left before the shooting. So I don't know if this is Robert Perry, Chris Morris, Brian Sargent. Who's she talking about here? I asked who told her this. She said it was just a rumor that she heard. I asked her if she remembers seeing or hearing any unusual announcements prior to the shooting. She said she heard from someone that there was an announcement, something to the effect of this was going to be a crazy day. I asked her if she had any information on the Trenchcoat Mafia. She said she really doesn't know anything about the Mafia except that it was bigger last year than this year. Okay, so that's about it. So she heard gunfire from two areas. Again, the best way would be to, again, do a reenactment with the same volume levels of explosions and gunshots to see if it really can be discerned above, around, all these things. Obviously, it's kind of difficult, and many students say they couldn't tell, but it's weird because certain students, depending on where they were, they said they could tell, and they clearly made these comments. 55th account, Evan Todd, sophomore, document 8826, heard bombs in other parts of the building while Harris and Klebold were in the library. Accounts 56 and 57, Dewada Perez and Jessica Holliday, seniors, 9923, heard gunshots elsewhere while shooters were in the library. So it states here in this document, this is document 9924, Perez and Holliday then said everyone who could get out ran out of the library. Both Perez and Holliday said they saw both of the suspects' faces and could positively ID them. Perez and Holliday said they were white. Perez and Holliday said that while Klebold and Eric were in the library, they could hear more gunshots elsewhere in the school. Let me repeat that again for the coincidence theorists. Holliday and Perez said that while Klebold and Eric were in the library, they could hear more gunshots elsewhere in the school. Okay. Nothing to misinterpret about that. And again, they weren't the only ones. Again, that's what makes this hard to dismiss, because it's not like we're talking about one or two people possibly misremembering in the fog of war. We're talking about dozens and dozens of accounts here. Following up here, among the best evidence are witnesses who actually identified other participants by name. 58th account, Crystal Archuleta, El Paso 1-197. She did see one person throw a pipe bomb. She told me at the time she thought it was Robert Perry. 59th account, Seth Dubois, freshman, El Paso 21-125. Seth told Catherine Carlston that Robert Perry was seen shooting a girl in the back while leaving the library. 60th account, Wade Allen Frank, senior, El Paso 1-91. Mr. Frank told me that he thought originally one of the individuals doing the shooting was someone by the name of Robert. He stated that this person was tall, approximately 6'3", kind of awkward and gangly. 61st, Brian Fry, sophomore, El Paso 25-69. He stated that the person he had previously believed to be the shooter was Robert Perry. In a previous interview after receiving his yearbook, he had told his father that he believed the shooter to be Robert Perry. He also stated that the gunman had bad acne. Again, we went over Fry's account. 62nd account, Courtney Hallman, freshman, El Paso 25-91. There was 3 guys. The guy I remember the most was the main guy, over 6 feet tall, long, curly, dark-colored hair. He was wearing a trench coat. His name is Robert Perry. 63rd account, Lacey Hahn, freshman, El Paso 1-186. Can you identify or describe who was shooting? Miss Hahn said that she does not believe it was Harris or Klebold. Miss Hahn believes it was an individual named Robert. 64th account, Bijin Monte Jr., El Paso 1-110. I asked her if she saw the source of the shooting. She told me she saw who she thought at the time was Robert Perry with a gun hanging around his neck. She said she never actually saw him shoot the weapon. She asked me if I had any information in regards to Robert Perry. I informed her I did not. And we went over Bijin Monte's account. She refused to recant. 65, Tessa Nelson, freshman, El Paso 1-113. I asked her if she saw the source of the shot. She said she saw a male who she thought was Robert Perry, wearing boots, dark jeans, dark hair, walking down the outside stairs outside the cafeteria. She said the male suspect pulled a gun and started shooting. 66th account, Caitlin Sue Place, freshman, El Paso 21-285. Kate said it was redacted. I'm almost positive of it. I remember looking him dead in the eye. He was in my debate class. Dylan kind of looked like Robert, but Dylan didn't have the long face. Robert's teeth are messed up, and he was smiling, and I saw his teeth then. Kate said that she has since seen pictures of Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, and she said it's not one of them, referring to the person she saw shooting out on the Commons. She remembers him shooting Anne-Marie Hoshelter. Robert was just randomly shooting. Robert was still shooting. Kate said that Robert shot Anne-Marie before he smiled at Kate. She looked away and saw Jason Autenreth trying to help Anne-Marie, dragging her away from Robert to the side. We went over her account as well. 67th account, Lacey Smith, Jr., document 4470. On the diagram, she depicts redacted as walking in through the doors past where she was sitting and going in about as far as the north end of the school store. It was at that time she heard the windows breaking. Then she realized she was hearing shots. She did not have any trouble identifying Perry when he walked by her. I asked Smith how sure she was that the person she saw and spoke with was redacted. I asked 90% sure, 50% sure. Her response was 100% sure. And she did not recant either. 68th, Brendan Hooker, Jr., 16,397 document. He turned around and observed an individual he thought was Robert Perry, ex-student of Columbine High, standing outside the door just to the north of the main entrance, shooting a pistol in his direction. Hooker described the individual he thought was Perry as 6'8" to 6'11" in height. Very skinny, tight black pants, black trench coat. Again, who's more likely to be 6'8" to 6'11"? Perry, who's 6'5", or Klebold, who's 6'3"? So in boots, whatever, Perry might look taller than 6'5". Curious. 69th account, Tiffany Lean, freshman. Lean stated she believed gunman number 1 was redacted. Lean stated she was approximately 20 to 25 feet away from gunman number 1, looked him in the face for approximately 25 seconds, frozen in her tracks. Tall male, had long black trench coat, black jeans, dark brown hair. His hair was kind of long, had curls, he was skinny, and his shoulders kind of hunched over. She also stated the gunman had bad acne. We went over her account previously as well. 70, Kristen Long, senior, 20,245 document number. Long said the suspect definitely had dark hair and a large nose, thought it might be redacted. And I wonder how many of them underwent hypnosis, because it would be curious to see what their memory was under hypnosis. Obviously closer to the time it occurred, but... And they should have had law enforcement present, especially those that were trying to gaslight all these poor kids into recanting or telling them they didn't see what they knew they saw. Even if they're wrong and mistaken, it was just clear gaslighting, trying to make them look like they were crazy because they had alibis from their moms or girlfriends. These individuals. Okay. Rusty Schuyler, 71st account, document 5464. The individual was very tall. Schuyler saw his face partially and, based on dress and size, thought it may have been redacted. He was 100% sure it was redacted. He described redacted as being 6'6" to 6'7". Tall and having lots of zits. Again, this is a clear description of Robert Perry, who's 6'5". Dylan Klebold's only 6'3". Would someone mistake him as being up to 6'7"? Whereas, again, Robert Perry, 6'5", that's pretty close to 6'6", 6'7", especially in boots. And again, we have the zits based on these photos of Dylan Klebold at the prom just 2 days before. He does not seem like someone you would describe with terrible acne or tons of zits or anything like that. 72nd account, Chris Theron, sophomore, 1207. Document 1207, saw a tall shooter with acne, large nose, shoulder-length hair. He stated that the picture he saw was of redacted, and he was pretty sure he was the shooter he saw that morning at Columbine High. 73rd account, Aaron Walton, sophomore, document 4139. Aaron Walton said she saw one of the shooters. He was not Eric or Dylan. He was a senior named Redacted. He was very tall, had bad acne scars on his cheeks. We went over that count as well. A 74th sighting, Chris Wisher. Document 9832. He recognized one of the shooters. The other shooter was the kid wearing black that was arrested and placed in cuffs and put inside a black police car. He said he is 100% positive that he was the male that shot at him. Thought he recognized Chris Morris as being one of the shooters on the west side of the cafeteria. El Paso 6-265. 75th account, Ashley Eagleland, freshman, 22,671. Document number. Ashley was in the north corridor when she observed redacted and Eric Harris coming around the corner from the library. She said Chris Morris was armed with a handgun. Harris was armed with a shotgun. Both started shooting at Ashley. Ashley did not know redacted at first, but she saw his picture in the yearbook and is positive it was redacted. The 76th account, Liam Murphy, sophomore, document 3828. In the cafeteria, notices commotion outside northwest door. I saw a guy recognized as redacted. He was running. Joe Stair had his blonde hair down. It's past his shoulder. He's about 6 foot tall, skinny. He was wearing a long black trench. I saw nothing in his hands. He was observed a short distance from whatever was going on at the door. My thought was that redacted was involved if there was a fight. Stair, named in the cafeteria map. Leah also immediately picked him out of a photo lineup. I asked Leah if she was certain this individual was redacted. Leah said, "Oh yeah, I'm certain. I saw his face full on. I remember seeing his face completely." She said he stood in place for about 15 seconds. I remember him graduating last year. Again, clearly not Klebold or Harris. She remembers him wearing makeup on his face and hands, and because of that, he stood out from other students. Also, at least 4 ear witnesses heard the suspects refer to one of their number as Joe. This is Encinas, Haravel, McKenna, and Salazar. Document numbers 2943, 1927, 3525, and El Paso 21-224, respectively. 77th account, Kara Sander, sophomore, El Paso 25-203. Describes gunman as a pudgy, overweight, very full face, thick, bushy eyebrows. IDs him as redacted. This is most likely Brian Sargent, who is heavyset with a round face, short dark hair and dark eyebrows. A copy of the Columbine High School yearbook page with Brian Sargent's photo is included in her interview. John Ungerland, document 1701, says Brian Sargent has a chubby face with is a big guy with bushy eyebrows. Saw him the morning of the Sargent was wearing a short sleeve white button up, a polo type, which of course a lot of people witnessed seeing instead of a regular t-shirt. 78th account, Jason Brem, sophomore, document 719. One of the shooters had a very round face, shorter than 5'11", not Harris or Klebold. We went over his account as well. 79th account, Mindy Pollock, freshman, document number 10,009. Sees one gunman outside west entrance holding a gun on the fence, dressed in a white dress-type shirt, short brown hair with a little bit of a gut. Pollock stated she recognized the lower number 1 gunman as redacted. Document 1095. We went over Pollock's account as well. 80th sighting, David Eagle, sophomore, document 1878. The guy with the gun had black hair, looked like he was spiked, shaved on the sides. It was also blonde on top. 5'9", about 18 years old. He has since seen pictures of Harrison Klebold on television. David said the person he saw did not look like the people he's seen on television. We went over his account as well. 81st sighting, John Vandemark, sophomore, document 2216. In the science hall, sees older shooter with dark hair, spiky with blonde tips. 82nd account, Aaron Walton, sophomore, 2243 document. In the science hall, she sees a suspect with short blonde hair like he was going bald. Older, in his 30s. How do you mistake Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold as a balding man in his 30s? I don't know. She's not the only one. 83rd sighting, Jen Small, sophomore, document 2182. In the science hall, sees Klebold and an older suspect between 25 and 30 years of age, blonde with a short, spiky, buzz-cut hair. 84th account, Nathan Enema, freshman, document 2359, identified redacted as possibly being the person he saw throw a pipe bomb during the shooting at Columbine High. Enema stated that he initially thought the person he saw throw a pipe bomb was redacted. 85th account, Katie Beer, freshman, document 6636. When the incident began at Columbine High School, she initially tried to get out of the school by going towards the main doors on the east side of the school by the administrative offices. However, she said she saw a third shooter next to these offices and that this third shooter shot out windows at that location. Katie Beer told him this third shooter may have been redacted. 86, Leanne Clark, freshman, document 1422. Clark told her that she saw who did the shooting in the cafeteria and that Clark identified redacted as the gunman. 87th account, Frank DeAngelis, school principal himself, document 8018. I also assisted the principal of Columbine, who was having a hard time giving the pictures of possible suspects to the command post, and was present when he looked at and identified one of the subjects he named. The male suspect was in custody of, I believe, Jefferson County Sheriff's investigators. So would this be Chris Morris? Possibly Dykeman? Possibly Robert Perry? Possibly Joe Stair? 88th account, Amy Evans, senior, 22205 document. Amy Evans said there was a third shooter and it was redacted. 89th sighting, Mark Hengel, Jr., document 5901. Hengel identified Klebold and redacted from a photograph in the attached 1A envelope. Also attached is a 1A envelope and a diagram of Columbine High indicating the direction of Hengel and the two individuals dressed in black. Apparently, the interviewing officer didn't like what he was hearing, and so the interview ends up telling the eyewitness what he saw. I then advised Mark Hengel that the skinny person he saw standing and shooting was Dylan Klebold, and the person he saw standing over the duffel bag was Eric Harris, even though that's not what he said he saw. I mean, maybe the investigator knew what he saw better than he did, even though he wasn't there. 90th sighting, Anne-Marie Hoshelter, Jr., gunshot victim outside the cafeteria, document 18,218. Advised that Harris Klebold did not shoot her. Has ID on shooters. 91st sighting, Lee Commends, Sr., 1422 document. While in the green room off the science hall, she identified redacted as one of the gunmen. 92nd sighting, Alicia Mayes, sophomore, 3614 document. Alicia stated when she first observed the male in the trench coat, she thought it was a person known to her, as redacted. 93rd sighting, Mark Opfer, freshman, document 1064. At the time, Opfer believed the taller person in the black trench who was with the shooter was redacted. Columbine High School student Mark Opfer was interviewed on April 27, 1999. In that interview, Opfer stated that he believed redacted wearing a trench coat was standing next to a gunman and was involved in the shooting, document 25625. 94th sighting, Josh Ortwine, senior, 1939. Ortwine witnessed the shooting and he was telling everyone he saw redacted shooting a gun. 95th sighting, Jessica Rush, sophomore, document 2143. She identified one of the gunmen at the Columbine High School as being an individual known as redacted. 97th, Jennifer Tyndall, sophomore, document 1226. Insisted that neither suspect she saw was Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold. Tyndall picked out redacted's photograph as possibly being the male in the black trench. 98th sighting, Adam Thompson Jr., document 21,039. He had seen a gunman shooting inside the school. Does not think it's the same gunman as in the media. And he ain't the only one. 99th sighting, Terry Lawson Jr., document 10,020. ID'd other than Harris and Klebold. Let's look at this document. I don't know if we look at this. 10,020. Terry Lawson, it's actually document 10,022. Terry Lawson reports that he was in the cafeteria and saw a senior he believed to be redacted with a backpack and a black trench coat holding a handgun. Heard shots outside, saw an unknown student shot in the back of the leg twice. The outside suspect was then observed lighting what he believed to be a short cloth of a pipe bomb and throwing it into the high school's south lot. It exploded. Lawson then exited via the language labs. Okay, so another individual, not Harris or Klebold. 100th sighting. We are now on the 100th citation of a witness or communication in the documents so far released that do not match the official narrative. 100. We're not talking about a couple people. We're not even talking about one or two dozen. We're on 100 now. And there's actually a whole bunch more we didn't even get to. Monica Schuster, Jr., document 19470. Schuster saw a gunman but did not believe it was Harrison Klebold. This is the lead sheet here. Schuster was with Robin Anderson. April 20th, 99. They left school at 11:10 a.m. with Tammy Golden to go to the Dairy Queen, returned to school at 11:25 a.m. Interesting time. Anderson pulled into the senior parking lot, heard gunfire. They stayed in the parking lot until 3 p.m. Schuster saw a gunman but did not believe it was Harris or Klebold. Schuster believes Anderson knew about the shooting because she bought them the guns. Per Schuster, Anderson was not acting herself prior to leaving the school to go to Dairy Queen. and urgent to leave the school and wanted to stay at Dairy Queen. What is kind of weird though, why didn't she really put her foot down about, if she's the driver, it says Anderson pulled into the senior parking lot. If she's the driver, I mean, she kind of calls the shots. I mean, what are they going to do? Force her to drive her own vehicle? If she could have meandered a lot longer at Dairy Queen, right? I mean, 11:25. I mean, I don't know. 101. Casey Rugsiger Jr., gunshot victim in the library documentation, 128. Rugsiger did not recognize the pictures of Harrison Klebold she has seen in the media as the gunman in the library. Now, a lot of people say, okay, well, it's definitely Harrison Klebold. Well, if they left the library and other gunmen came into the library, maybe did some shooting, maybe didn't even do shooting, maybe threw some bombs, maybe not, maybe just looked out windows. If there were other shooters or just other individuals who weren't shooters, if they came and went, that could cause for the confusion, and therefore nobody's lying, per se. Says she does not recall what the gunman looked like or what they were wearing. See, this is not a surprising response. She's a gunshot victim, or even if she wasn't a gunshot victim, in all of the panic and the bombs going off, the gunfire, if you didn't get a good look at him, you didn't get a good look at him. You might not even remember what they were wearing. Again, if human memory is very fallible. But here we have over 100 accounts of people who did remember what they saw. And so this is the document 128 here. Rugsiger has never seen Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold before. Rugsiger did not recognize the pictures of Harris and Klebold she has seen in the media as the gunman in the library. So again, we don't have someone who's hallucinating they saw Robert Perry or not. She didn't know Eric Harris or Dylan Klebold. She says it didn't look like them. She doesn't really seem to be sure, but she just said she does not recognize the picture of Harris and Klebold. I mean, it'd be curious if they showed her other pictures. I don't know if they did. I mean, that would run counter to the narrative, but it would be curious. It would be curious if she looked at all the pictures, if she identified somebody else. So we just went over 100 accounts. Over 100 accounts. And the thing is, we're not even done. We're not even done. I mean, this is just crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I'm going to address the ski mask issue as well, because a fair number of witnesses mentioned guys in ski masks. Now, would you hallucinate someone's randomly wearing a ski mask if they're not wearing a ski mask? And then, of course, there's other sightings of people who saw individuals with stockings or other types of latex masks on their faces. Who would that be? Because again, if Eric and Dylan are resigned to commit suicide after this, they want the infamy and the fame for this. Why would they wear masks? And clearly they didn't care about that, because by all accounts, all the witnesses, the cafeteria footage, the way they were found, they did not put masks on later. So if they had them on at the very beginning, why would they have them on in the first place? They were already cited by all these people. So after they were cited at 11:20, Eric Harris was cited by numerous people at 11:20 in the parking lot. He put his mask on for like 10 seconds and then took it off. And that still doesn't account for the sighting of other people who saw guys with masks. Couple theories here from various forums. Tappa Talk. Ski masks have driven me crazy for 5 years. This was posted in 2004. I think that it could have been someone helping them or was supposed to help them. But when the time for 0 hour came, maybe they changed their mind. This is the one I stand by the most because it makes more sense. But with Columbine, not a lot makes sense. Now, my other idea may be a little far to reach, but it could have been law enforcement who were there to make sure Eric and Dylan did not get out. That does seem a little bit far-fetched, unless this was some kind of top-secret MK Ultra operation. Another post here, Star Viego. Okay, as far as masks go, I believe one was found on the ground near the outside staircase, though a few of the library eyewitnesses said the shooters were wearing masks. There were definitely more than 2 shooters. In case you don't know, almost 40 witnesses put a name to others who were involved. We actually went over just 100 accounts here of people who were both naming names or just clearly said more than 2 or not Eric and Dylan. So there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 1, 2, 3. So there are 32 accounts of a masked gunman or possible masked gunman. Patrick Ireland in the library, Rebecca Parker, library table 12, Jake Apodaca, outside west doors, Josh Chavez, outside west doors, Brenton Hooker, outside, Sarah Olgienzak, science hall, Jessica Rush, science room number 5, Alicia Encinias, cafeteria, Jay Galantine, top of steps to cafeteria, Kyle Haynes, cafeteria, Candace Haywood, cafeteria, Sean Hooker, cafeteria, Matt Katzenmeyer, cafeteria, Brandon Malonson, cafeteria, Elizabeth Nolan, hallway by band hall, Daniel Palmeter, cafeteria, suspect outside, Brock Rembold, cafeteria, Lori Reynolds, cafeteria, suspect outside, Sarah Scott, cafeteria, Johnny Strobel, cafeteria, Eric Sunday, cafeteria, Tanya Warlock, cafeteria, Heather Rabatz, cafeteria, Angela King, auditorium, Jacob Schreck, cafeteria, Daniel Burge, hallway, Nicole Dickey, outside, Christopher Markham, cafeteria, David Mesh, cafeteria, Bob Sappin, hallway, Pat McDuffie, Brendan Hooker told him he saw one masked gunman by the doors of the cafeteria. Jessica Rush saw a masked suspect try to enter science room. Michelle Romero Simmons. And the document numbers in that order: 35, 510, 656, 736, 1465, 2078, 2144, 2207, 3088, 3278, 3288, 3356, 3424, 3635, 3920, 4013, 4177, 4189, 4370, 4565, 4575, 4769, 4781, 5009, 5401, 5840, 6321, 8761, 9827, 9830, 10,794, and 16,410. Those are the documentation for all of these individuals who saw at least one suspect with a mask. Actually, that's not even a complete list. There's a couple more here. Justin Alber, 2,293. One of the gunmen who had long hair was wearing a black trench coat, black mask. He was around 6 foot tall, 150, white male holding sawed-off shotgun. Mark Opfer, he saw gunman shoot Rohrbauer, described him as Caucasian, black trench coat, 5'7", black Levi's, was wearing a mask. 1,062. Why would so many people think people are wearing masks if they're not wearing masks? Do the coincidence theorists maintain that's fog of war as well? It doesn't make any sense. Chris Messias saw a party in black clothes plus ski mask come toward the building. Page 3,680. Vanessa Grimes. Vanessa stated she saw Dylan Klebold outside the cafeteria wearing a balaclava, dark blue or black, and a trench coat. Did not see if he was wearing a hat or not. So if the balaclava had to have exposed enough of his face, or is it not Dylan Klebold and she's assuming it is? James, last name unknown. This is from the Columbine CRTF report, July 14th, 2000. During the shooting, KUSA was in contact with a student named James. At 1:25 p.m., it was reported that James saw the gunman a few minutes ago. He is describing them as wearing hats, black trenches, black masks, and one of them has long hair that is coming out of the back of his hat. Now, what does it mean by long hair? Dylan Klebold's hair is not that long when you got guys like Joe Stair around. Wade Frank, 25,760 document number. The male in the trench coat was also wearing a black hat, possibly a baseball hat backwards, or a ski mask, so unknown. So there you have it. We went over 100 accounts, and there's actually plenty more. That's the thing. We've just begun to scratch the surface of the Columbine conspiracy. If you enjoy the podcast, you can help support Mindshock. You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Become a YouTube member. Just go to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Mindshock. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.